Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions and lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Sack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Pilta and Meshegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. Not just a YouTube show. When you know, cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Hello, my friends, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. Today is Tuesday, June 24th of 2025, and this is like the most exciting show I think I will ever have, and I know that you're excited for it too. And what a get this is! What a get to be able to have two of my favorite people that don't even know me come on my show and talk to you. And I know that you're so excited for it too. So without any further ado, I present to you King David Yannetti and Bobby Scissorhands Alessi, the amazing attorneys, two of just the amazing attorneys for the defense team of Karen Read. Hi.
I am so excited to be here, Melanie. You have been so awesome for us, both professionally and personally, and I'm really honored that you asked us to be here.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm so glad you came, Bob. It's really nice to meet you. David and I had the opportunity to meet last year when I went to the trial, and I hope that we'll get a chance to meet soon. But we have certainly enjoyed watching you on our TV.
Well, thank you. I've watched you, and I watched you a bit during the trial. So we may not have known each other formally, but I tuned in to listen to the endless Melanie Little wisdom, and you had great insights, and I benefited from them. So I peeked in and benefited. So nice to talk with you in person.
You're too kind. Thank you. I know that you've this is your victory tour, and I'm so glad that you've chosen to stop here. And so what I think that we don't really need to cover the stuff that you did with Ian or Peter, and I'd love to dive into some other things that you haven't talked about yet, because everyone who's here tonight, I'm sure, has watched the other coverage. And since I have been covering this case since January of 2024, when that woman who is an FBI person, on Twitter. I don't play on the cesspool of Twitter, but I know you know who I'm talking about. We don't allow her name to be named here. JC are her initials, but she pissed me off so badly on Court TV by trying to make me look like a fool because I said that I thought that was a dog attack to John O'Keefe's right arm, that I went out and found Garrett Wing, did a show with Garrett Wing, and I have not let go since. And what is so interesting about that, I'm sure you know who Olivia Lambo is on Twitter. She also was pissed off by this same woman, and that is what gave Olivia her fire as well, which is so interesting. And that is also Bettero became involved because somebody on Twitter also annoyed him to the point where he started digging into this. And so we have the trolls to thank for our involvement in this case. I want to go back to the very beginning because I have so many questions. David, we know that you were hired on January 29th of 2022. That's not a secret or anything. And I just want to know that When you got the call and you started getting involved in the case, did you have any idea that it was going to turn into this huge phenomenon and blow up in the way that it did?
Not at all. I mean, maybe I should have realized that it would be bigger than what I thought it was going to be in the beginning. But I was looking at this case as, I don't want to say a garden variety motor vehicle homicide, because that sort of trivializes what's at stake here and the fact that a man died. But from a lawyer's perspective, it just looked to me like this was going to be a motor vehicle homicide that the district court has jurisdiction over. And I thought that initially I thought I'm going to be fighting this case in Stoughton District Court. It'll be done within, 8 months to a year, whatever the result is. And that will be that. No, obviously, how could anyone predict it would be what it ultimately became? But I didn't anticipate anything close to this.
I think that we can all agree that case is a unicorn. This is a case that I'm practicing for over 3 decades. I've never seen anything like this. Have you? Have you? This is what makes it so. Karen Read could be any one of us, and I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a procedural person, and what I watched unfold, and I have a worldwide audience. We have people from 50 different countries at least watching this show at all times. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. No,
it's really captivated the world. So at the start of my career, well, more closer to the start, I suppose I had been an attorney for 8 years at that point. But I don't know, you look at me, I look like a baby back then. At the start of my career, I did have a very high profile case, late 90s. Another murder case. I was a prosecutor then, and it almost brought back the death penalty in Massachusetts. It was so horrific. It lost in liberal Massachusetts by 1 vote, the death penalty, believe it or not. But that was pre-internet. The case was covered, gavel to gavel on court TV. So, that was my reference point for publicity, because it was, on the front page of the newspaper. And back then, people read newspapers, right? So, it was the TV on the local news. Everybody watched the local news, and they read newspapers. It's like the Stone Age, but pre-internet is so different than post-internet. I mean, the saturation of coverage in so many different ways on the internet, videos and news sites and podcasts and everything else. Obviously that pales in comparison to what this was about.
At what point did you realize that this was just more than, an OUI fatality motor vehicle accident?
Well, when I got to court on February 2nd, the first clue was that they had charged my client with manslaughter. And so, I see that charge, and I'm waiting to see something in a police report or a charging document that would justify that charge. And I didn't see it there. That's why after the arraignment, I was talking to the press. I said, I don't see any criminal intent here. This looks to be a tragic accident. That was based on what the Commonwealth had provided to me. So that was the first clue that I had. And then, of course, the second clue was when I got back to my home office. This was kind of at the tail end of COVID, beginning of 2022. People were still kind of, not out and about as much as they are now. When I got back to my home office, and I got a message from my paralegal that somebody had called to say they wanted to talk about the Karen Read case. And, it's all public information. I've talked about it a million times. I've put it in affidavits with the court. There's something else going on here. And whenever they, said, look, the homeowner's Brian Albert, you should look at him and his nephew. So, they didn't name the nephew. I didn't even know Brian Albert had a nephew. I didn't even know who Brian Albert was at that time. But that was kind of the turning point. It happened very early.
I, like many others, remember reading about this, and I have close family ties to Norfolk County, Massachusetts, which is another reason that this came on my radar. And my friends and family from Norfolk County have been telling me for decades how corrupt the police are. And so when I read the initial article, the media was told, law enforcement sources say that there is ring camera footage of the incident, news at 11. And so I read the article like many other people probably did and just sort of tossed it aside saying, oh, tragic accident. Oh, well. And then it turns out that that wasn't true. They never came up with any ring camera footage of the incident. And 2 trials later, you were able to get our girl acquitted because Karen Read has become, a symbol of so much more. Bob,
We wish there was ring camera footage, because then she wouldn't have been charged. There wouldn't have been a trial. He wouldn't have had to go through all this, right?
Right. I wanted to thank both of you also. Don't think that we didn't notice the way that you were so protective of Karen in the courtroom. During trial 1, David, you were the buffer between Paul O'Keefe and Karen, and the way that you were so protective over her and tried to, it appeared that way anyway. I'm not sure if that was your intent, but it appeared that you were shielding her from this death glare. I can say that. And we want to thank you for that. And then also we saw, Bob, we saw you do that too during trial 2. At one point, you guys, I think, switched seats, and you were so protective of her that it was so heartwarming to see, because you don't see that a lot. And I'm sure that that's the way that you felt.
Yeah, we had a variety of reasons for moving Bob Alessi around the seating, but I will tell you, when I was there, the boxer in me came out, and I was ready on several fronts, the foremost of which was just to, provide a physical buffer and anything else that was needed. It was a close-knit team, and we were going to do whatever was necessary whenever for Karen.
Bob,
Can I don't want to hijack this conversation, and believe me, I'm going to take a backseat to Bob because he's way more interesting than I am. But I did want to give you a window into that sort of boxer mentality of Bob's, because he raised it. One thing you need to know about Bob, he will tell you this himself. If you are within the Bob Alessi circle, then you are protected at all times. That's just who he is. And somehow I've weaseled my way into that circle. I'm very fortunate to be there. The reason I bring this up is we didn't go out to dinner a whole lot during this trial. We went out much more often during the first trial. And that was probably a function of the fact that we had far less help the first time. We had one fewer attorney, and we didn't have any interns at all. So we were drinking from a fire hose the first time, trying to keep up with everything. This time we had much more of a handle on it. And so we all were able to, cook in our rooms quite a bit. And I think we lived a healthier lifestyle during trial number 2. But one time we went out, and it was, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks before the trial was over, maybe 3 weeks. We went to a nice restaurant in the North End, and my back was to the restaurant. Bob was on the other side of the table facing out, and a guy came up behind me and put his hands on my shoulder, and I turned around and I, kind of confronted him to talk to him. And I'm saying this from Bob's standpoint. Bob gets up out of his seat, and I'm talking to the guy, and it turns out this is a guy I graduated high school with. I hadn't seen in years. We were friends in the 5th grade. My sister was friends with his. So anyway, we were catching up, and Bob was already there, sort of with one foot in front of the other in a ready stance. And he was going to pummel this guy if he made any move against me. And he literally said out loud when he came over, like, I thought he was coming over just to like introduce himself, like, how you doing, just be, friendly and stuff. but he literally said, "Oh, you guys know each other," and he went and sat back down. That's Bob Alessi. If you're in
Love that.
his bubble, you are protected. So I'm sorry, I just had to interject that.
I think I speak for everyone here when I say that this is the bromance that we did not know that we needed. And to see that you guys have become so close and that you finish each other's sentences and that it is like the mutual admiration society. And I love that so much, because when you get to a certain age, you don't really make friends anymore. It's kind of like,
No,
I
you
got my
don't.
friends. It's good. You don't really meet people that you find a connection with. And I love that so much for you and for us too, because we'd love to watch it. Bob, how did you become aware of the Karen Read case?
It's totally true. I love David Yannetti like a brother.
I love that for all of us. And I feel like you guys were like living in a dorm in a hotel together. It was like being in college. We'll get into that more later. But Bob, I'm wondering, when did the Karen Read case come on your radar? Like, were you aware of the Karen Read case during the first trial, or is it? Did you actually get to watch the first trial? Case. We're having a little delay. Sorry about that.
I didn't watch much of it. I have a heavy caseload, and members of my family were very, very much tuned into the first trial. They knew much more about it than me. My wife is an attorney, was a year behind me in law school, former prosecutor, and my two daughters were totally immersed in it, but I was not. However, David and I had a case together in Massachusetts that we worked on a little bit. David was the lead, and I was just sort of in the background helping. And typical of David Yannetti, a very difficult case. I think the jury was out an hour and 45 minutes and came back with a resounding triple not guilty verdict. And so David and I worked together, and he basically had said to me, and it was in the nascent stages of the Karen Read case. He said, I got another case I'm on that I may talk to you about. So every once in a while we would talk about it. And so I would become aware of it, but that was really, so I was a bit in the background, but nothing at all formal, nothing really even that much formal, but because of David and we would speak every once in a while, he would bring that up and we talk about it. But that was the level of my involvement, very, very mild.
So then when you got the opportunity to become involved in the case, I know your wife is named Ellen, because I've heard you speak so fondly of her on another show. And I know your daughter Laura and I have become friends, which I am so happy about. 2 daughters and your wife, or?
That's correct. And so they're all brilliant.
They're all brilliant. Well,
oh yes,
where they
get they are.
From. I know Laura is. And so I wonder, when you had the opportunity to become involved in the Karen Read case, because your wife and your daughters were so invested, having watched the first trial, were they kind of like, Dad, you got to help. You got to help.
Yeah, they were there for the first trial in that mode. And just, it wasn't something that was able to happen. But when second round came around and David contacted me, my family was, you got to do it. You've got to do it. Listen, had it been different in the first trial, the opportunity to work with David would have been fabulous. But it wasn't going to work out. But for this time, I even hesitated a bit for the second one, but my family took away any opportunity to have hesitation and just the opportunity to work on the matter. And I got to give a huge credit to my firm, DLA Piper. This is very unorthodox for a white shoe Manhattan firm to, take on a trial level case. Usually, we've got a huge pro bono program, one of the most lauded in the country. But it's usually appellate work, and anything that comes close is innocence. And I give my firm total credit, because they took a chance with a case like this. And so, I have to mention my firm support I got, but once I was in, I was in.
Amazing.
And Melanie, there were many times during the trial, as kind of a running joke, you saw Bob's boxer mentality in the courtroom. You don't mess with Bob Alessi. And there were many times we'd be sort of shuffling off to lunch, and he'd sidle over to me and say, check out my white shoes now. They're pretty dirty, aren't they?
We did joke about that during the trial. We are,
Yeah.
you know, humor is one of our trauma responses here. And so it was like, don't messy with Alessi. That was one of the things that we used to
Yeah.
say.
We saw
in
those
addition
signs.
to, you know, your opening, David, in the first trial, when you said, wait for us, we made an emoji for that. Wait for us. I mean, that is one of the greatest openings. I think it will go down in
Well,
history.
but by the way, I don't know if that is public, but I want to announce here, that was before Bob Alessi was associated with this case.
Mhm.
Guess who gave me that line?
Really?
Yes.
He
Yes.
scripted it for you? Oh, I love that.
Yeah, actually, he scripted it for me in the previous trial that we did together. You know, I just thought that, I don't even know if I used it in that case. I don't know that I did, but I loved it. And I knew I was going to use it in another case. And boy, was this the case to use that.
Wow.
Nobody could have delivered that better than David Yannetti. It's one thing to have the words, it's another to deliver it and connect with the jury. And that's David Yannetti.
I steal from the best.
It's the sincerest form of flattery, right?
Oh, yeah.
David, we watched during one of the pretrial shows, I can't even remember when, a closing, I think that you did in a case, and I don't want to say the child's name wrong. Curly, I think Jeffrey was Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Curley,
that was the case that I was talking about that was the one that was on Court TV. I mean, just a horrible, horrible case, that poor family.
I think you were being honored at Boston College, and there was video, I think, of you doing that closing again, I think, and we were just in tears the whole time. So listen, your reputation precedes you, both of you. And what I took from this, being a civil litigator, knowing, having handled thousands of car accident cases, dog bite cases, and also one of the biggest cover-up cases in the history of the Catholic Church, I handled on behalf of the victims of clergy SA, as we have to say, the cases against the Rockville Center Diocese. That scandal broke in 2002 in Boston, and I was one of the lead attorneys for the cases here on Long Island. So I know cover up at the highest level. And so when people would always say, well, this is just, you know, how could this be a cover up? It's just so ridiculous. I've seen it. And so to me, to bring a civil litigator of Bob's high caliber on board was so smart, because at its core, to me anyway, this was an alleged motor vehicle accident. And I'd been saying for such a long time, John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. And if John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, we all go home. And so the focus in trial 2, I think, was so much more streamlined. And I think, I don't know how much Bob assisted in, you know, sort of focusing in that direction, but we watched you do some of the best expert cross and direct that I've ever seen. That will be taught in law school. I truly believe that. Both of you. This trial
should be taught. Yeah. Bob, there's nobody better in the country. In fact, when I was, I think when I was asking for Bob to be admitted pro hac vice, the judge probably saw his background, and I believe she questioned me and said, "Why is he particularly skilled in a case like this?" And you know, my response was, I think, honest and obvious. He is one of the best courtroom lawyers in the country, in the world. I mean, who's better than Bob Alessi?
He's got nothing. Bob's
Period.
got nothing.
Full stop.
Do you know that they took the Karen Read case and they used it in the Colorado high school mock trial competition? Somebody sent me the brief. Like, they used it there.
Really?
And another high school teacher.
Did we win there too?
I think. I'm sure they called her Karen's. No, actually.
They can only use it as a mock trial if they win every time.
So tell me what you think. I wanted to get into a little bit about, Bob, did you notice any stark differences between New York law and Massachusetts law coming in to try this case in Massachusetts?
I did. And thankfully, I had David Yannetti to alert me to the differences and teach me the differences. I will say the biggest difference was with regard to experts. And Melanie, as you know from you're a renowned trial attorney in New York, and if you're going to be trying cases in New York, you got to know what you're doing. So as you know, in New York state court and federal court with experts can rely upon the reports and hearsay information as other experts, as long as it's reasonable for the experts to rely upon it and the information is reliable, and then experts can go. In Massachusetts, that is not the case. And frankly, I remember it well. Massachusetts Guide to Evidence, Section 702, basically brings that out. And there's a case it's a Massachusetts rule is you cannot rely upon the hearsay evidence from another report. You've got to get that person in or that evidence in. There's some exceptions, but that's generally it. So I learned of the case, but I never could pronounce it right. And so I kept saying it, and I finally got it right thanks to David. It's called Grindader or Grindader. And David said, listen, here's how you're going to remember the proper pronunciation. I was involved in like a predecessor to that, so I know the pronunciation. And so he said, and here's the pronunciation. So that's one big example of a difference that's odd in Massachusetts. The other is, they call demonstrative chalks, which is just odd for me. But poignant example, this courthouse is so old that there's literally in the big courthouse, the main courthouse where I had my first appearance with Dr. Russell for the Daubert Lanigan hearing, over to the right next to the jury box, is literally a chalkboard, right? So it was ingrained in me. So those are two among many differences of Massachusetts law.
Mark Betterow and I talked about this a lot because we're both New York attorneys too. And one that we found to be so not being able to state the grounds for your objection, because I know in New York, sometimes the judge will wait for you to state the grounds for your objection. And so that to me, is that discretionary, David, according to the judge by judge? Is that judge by judge, or is that a blanket rule?
It is. And my experience and this is not any criticism of our trial judge, but my experience has been that most judges that I've appeared before will allow you to state objections, in a word or two, just state the basis of it.
Right.
My personal feeling is I think it saves time. And my personal feeling is that it's not prejudicial in any way. They're all legal bases that the jury's going to hear over and over again, and maybe it would avoid sidebars. But it was not my courtroom, and we needed to obey by the rules that the judge set down, and it was within her discretion to set those rules.
It's
incredibly hard to get used to. I mean, when I had the Daubert Landing with Dr. Russ, I would stand up and object and give the objection, and I hear about it from Judge Cannoni. I finally got used to it. It's very, very hard to get used to.
I will say there were a couple of times where I snuck those in anyway.
We know,
and I didn't get in trouble for it. So, I think you just got to pick your spots, I guess.
Right. Something else that we found frustrating was that with this judge in particular, there didn't seem to be any consistency. And so what irked me in trial one, she had the rule that no expert witness was allowed to talk about causation of the injuries unless they were a medical doctor. And then come trial two, all of a sudden, James Crosby is sort of waved in, and then Dr. Russell has to come in. Was it trial two that she had the 2 full day voir dire that you did, Bob? Was that full days?
Yes.
Dr. Russell, who parachuted into this case and is more well-credentialed than 90% of the experts that I know, was subjected to this 2-day voir dire. How did you feel about that? What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
I was thrilled. And here's the reason why, and I told the defense team this was my debut for trial two, was defending the Daubert Lanigan hearing of Dr. Russell. And I told the team, in trial one, Dr. Russell was barely allowed to opine on dog bites. And even then, what I call the magic question, do you have an opinion based upon a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause of these wounds to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe? And there was an objection to that, and it was sustained. And so they had a voir dire on that. It was mostly an alleged Rule 14 violation, and Judge Cannoni said after that, he's only going to be allowed to talk about dog bites. So I told the team, I said, I'm going in there. They want to have a Dalbert Lanigan hearing. I'm happy to have it. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to qualify her, not just on dog bites, but on medical causation in general. And I'm going to go after what she was not allowed to do, which is these aren't from a motor vehicle accident, and just have her be total medical causation. So in order to do that, I knew it was going to take a lot of time. It was 2 days. It was, I think, 5.5 hours of direct examination into Dalbert Lanigan. And in Massachusetts courts, as I understand it, the vast majority of the time, these are very quick. And I basically said, you want a Dalbert Lanigan hearing? You're going to have a Dalbert Lanigan hearing. And at the end, I was able to get through 5 hours, with few objections, and not even on the objection on the magic question. And we got her qualified in that regard. And then at the trial, and trial 2, I was able to do it again, right? I was able to get her qualified. So in conclusion, I was thrilled to death that they had a Dalbert Lanigan hearing. And I said to the team, I said, you know, on the integer scale, -10, 0 in the middle, +10, I said, I welcome the opportunity to have the Commonwealth start at 0 and end up at -5 on it.
Well, and Melanie, one sneaky fact that probably a lot of people picked up on, but it was, the result of the unbelievably thorough preparation that you get when you give a witness to Bob Alessi. You'll recall during her testimony at trial, Mr. Brennan asked her some question that opened the door to a response from Dr. Russell about the fact that the medical records of Karen Read included a diagnosis at the emergency room that she was suffering from extreme grief reaction. And she also was able to give an expert opinion on that, that when people are suffering from extreme grief reaction, they tend to self-blame. And that didn't come from a question of from Bob, but it came from Bob's preparation. And that was an absolute home run that really, I think, helped to neuter the statements that were attributed to Karen by the EMTs and the police.
100%, because in my
that
opinion,
was Attorney Brennan who kept going. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, Melanie.
No, you go ahead. I was going to say his entire theory of the case this time, he was relying on her confessions. That was the crux of his case. And so by you bringing that out, go ahead. Yeah. What were we going to say?
So the question we were prepared for was, Attorney Brennan endlessly kept playing clips of, could I hit him? Did I hit him? And some witnesses alleging, which was false, that she said, I hit him. And he certainly, in his examination of Dr. Russell, then, well, did you consider her statements? I hit him, trying to hoping she would say, no, wasn't my scope or whatever. And I think, and then when she said yes, and he said, please explain. I'll never forget it.
That's right.
That's right. And that's when Dr. Russell went into what David said. And that was, I think, a very significant part of the trial. And I would like to believe it, as David said, it completely neutralized what had been the prosecution's theme. And it was never a confession, but that's what they tried to purport it to be. And I think at that moment, everybody in the world related to something they might have felt intuitively, but never kind of would articulate. It's like, yeah, that's right. That's what we do with close people when things like this. Okay, now, yeah, yeah. And I hope that that's what carried through for the rest of the trial.
Our collective gasp was louder than the gasp of Dr. Russell when she was asked if she had a problem with her memory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When she
That was so, yeah.
God, yeah, that was unnecessary and egregious. And he showed a lot of that, I think, during his cross-examination of witnesses. Brendan, what were you going to say?
I'm sorry to be so jumpy with Dr. Russell,
No.
because she is such a compelling person, let alone a compelling physician. I spent a lot of time with her. She is as bright, as sharp, and as good a human being as you will ever meet in your life. I don't know if I've ever met anybody so well credentialed, but just so human, so lovely. And I was forced to restrain myself at the voir dire, which was horrible the way she was treated. And I was somewhat more comforted at trial because I knew the jury would see her for all the talents, and sort of the apex of the injustice to her was that question about memory. Because if there's anybody that's got a mind that's exceedingly large in a lockbox, it's Dr. Russell.
But I think that, moments like that are, I'll say it again, look, at the outset, attorneys make mistakes. Boy, do I make a lot of them in, strategic decisions and tone of voice, how you handle a witness, what you say, what you don't say. So, far be it from me to be the Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, well, this is wrong or that was wrong, etc. Hank Brennan is a very skilled attorney, and he is very well respected by the judiciary and other lawyers. But I thought that was a mistake. I thought that attacking her in that way, it was a gratuitous question. It wasn't necessary, and the very human response from her that was not scripted, that was almost like, oh my God, I can't believe that you would think that I'm so elderly that I'm losing it or whatever. I mean, I think it was genuinely when she gasped, like you said, I think everybody gasped with her. And I don't think he did himself or his case any favors by asking that question.
I agree. And I also think that the 2-day voir dire that she was subject to also made her so much stronger at trial because she was ready for him. The way he treated her even worse at the voir dire than he did during trial, because of course the jury was there and she was ready for it. I mean, Bob, whatever you did to prep her, I mean, the difference between trial 1, trial 2, and she was ready. She was so ready. She was bulletproof. It was beautiful to watch. David, I wanted to ask you about your examination of Jonathan Diamandis. And I found this to be so classy, number one. And this is for you, those of you in the chat who don't remember, he was Proctor's friend who was on the group text thread with Proctor when Proctor said all of those horrific things about Karen and started talking about the case and the family secrets. And you brought him on only, I think, to authenticate the messages. The messages were already in evidence. The jury was going to be able to bring them back. And then Hank gets up. Were you surprised by what happened next? Because you just asked him very few questions to authenticate the messages, and that was it. You didn't ask him to read a thing.
Right. Well, I made the decision that, this comes from, I have a group text thread with a bunch of high school friends, some of whom I'm close with, others of whom I didn't really even know in high school. And boy, I don't want to be responsible for what everybody says on that text thread. And anybody on that thread never expected in a million years, including Michael Proctor, that those would ever see the light of day. And people let their guards down, and they say things that they shouldn't say. So I have some sympathy there. But and not that I have sympathy for Michael Proctor, but I have sympathy for the other people that were on that thread. None of them are involved in this case. None of them do we allege, they did anything wrong. I had a decision to make, which was, once it became clear that the DA really was not going to call the lead investigator, it was imperative for us to get those text messages into evidence. That was integral to our defense. And, if we couldn't get them in through any other witness, we may have been in a position where we had to call Michael Proctor. And boy, we didn't want to. We had him under subpoena, but I did not want to put him on the stand. And I said in open court, what I had been thinking, what we all had been thinking behind the scenes, which is that, we would, even if we were able to have him qualified as a hostile witness and lead him on direct, Hank Brennan would be able to cross-examine him, and he'd essentially be able to give two closing arguments in the trial. And he would necessarily, because he's a skilled lawyer, somewhat rehabilitate Michael Proctor, who, through that point in the trial, there was no sympathy for him in that courtroom at all. So we wanted to desperately avoid that. Now, so I'm balancing that against the fact that I have, these four innocent, friends of his from high school on the thread under subpoena. I did something that I really haven't done in any other case. I could have forced them all to show up in court. Some of them had, legitimate reasons why it would be a hardship. And none of them wanted to be there. I wouldn't have wanted to be there if I were them. They had been anonymous in trial one, and I'm sure they hoped they'd be anonymous in trial two, but it was what it was. I mean, we didn't have a choice. We needed to get them into evidence. So, I talked to all of them. Some had attorneys. Two of the attorneys out of the three that I spoke with were just professional. They understood that I had a job to do. One of them I felt was very unprofessional. And, she went on the attack right from the word go. And one thing that kind of sticks in my craw is that because she was so unprofessional and really, I thought, unethical as well, she won because I wound up not calling her client as a witness. But, with regard to the others, I said, hey, guys, look, I don't want to put you all on the stand. Can you get together and decide who's going to take the bullet?
Oh, wow.
And the Mr. Diamandis had an attorney who was very, very professional, ethical, a man of his word. And I got to tell you, I gave my word to him and his client that I was not going to make him read those text messages. And I was not going to make him read those text messages. I was not going to go back on my word. It doesn't surprise me. I'm sorry, it's a long-winded way of getting to the answer here.
I'm so curious.
But you would ask me, was I surprised that Hank Brennan did what he did? No, I'm not. I think that Hank, again, he's a very smart guy. He's very experienced. He's a good trial lawyer. He knew that part of the reason, in addition to having given these people my word, part of the reason was that if I don't have this poor guy on the stand reading the text messages, Alan gets to read them for the first time in closing argument. And boy, would that be powerful if that was a surprise in his closing argument. So I think Hank wanted to get ahead of it. I don't think that, Hank had any intention of embarrassing this guy. I don't, I think he just did what he thought he had to do, which is just get the words out there, but I think everybody felt bad for him when, Hank was like, well, what did he say next? And the witness said, I don't feel comfortable reading this,
Right.
Um,
And then
and
he
then
went on. Go ahead.
he was allowed to lead him at that point. But I thought it was, it's a net win for us, because if your high school buddy doesn't feel comfortable reading your words, I think that speaks volumes as well.
There was one particular message in there that shook me to the core. And I know that you had these messages in trial one, because they came from the 2E dump, right? There was one particular message in there about the death of the father of the niece and nephew that I thought I couldn't even believe he read it out to the world. And I won't even repeat it here, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And that could have been a family secret. It could have been something that the children did not know about their father and the consequence and the circumstances surrounding his death. And it could have been something that's not even true. And Brennan just barreled through it with complete and total disregard for those children and read it in front of a worldwide audience. And I am still mad about it. We were shook to the core. My chat was so angry. And again, it goes to show how classy you guys are. You didn't do that. The texts were already in evidence. I don't know if it was a mistake, but you never read that in trial one. You left that part out.
Let me say that with regard to lawyering, the amount of lawyering David had to do in strategizing to get those texts into evidence, that was very tricky. The Commonwealth fought that for the whole trial. There was a lot of jockeying throughout the trial, and David succeeded in getting them into evidence. That was a big moment.
Huge.
And just in terms of lawyering skills, was just masterful to do, to allow us to not call Michael Proctor. So as a lawyer, I marveled at how that all happened.
It was beautiful. It was an art. It was the thing of beauty. Tell us about your decision. You were telling me backstage before we started the show about some of the witnesses that you didn't get to cross, that you really wish you did, that were not called by the Commonwealth. And what do you want to tell me about that and the audience?
So, I spent probably 100 hours preparing for the cross of Brian Albert. I hosied him at the start of the trial, and nobody fought me hard enough to win the right to cross-examine him. So he was mine. I have, legitimately never prepared a cross-examination like that in my 36-year career, ever. I was so ready. And on the one hand, I was very disappointed that he wasn't called, because nobody will ever see that cross. That it's all in my head and in my dreams. But on the other hand, for the good of the case, for the good of Karen Read, which is always what this is about. It's not about egos. It's not about personal gain. None of this is about that. It is about what was right for the case, what was right for Karen. And my experience, as I told you before we went on air, Melanie, having tried, some third-party culprit cases, including one particular murder case that stands out to me. My experience has been, and it's anecdotal, and maybe it's wrong, but my experience has been when the government, the Commonwealth in Massachusetts, produces the third-party culprit, it becomes more difficult for the defense to win the case. But when the Commonwealth fails, or in this case chooses not to call potential third-party culprits, it becomes difficult for them to win the case. As I mentioned, when we talked earlier, Brian Higgins in trial 2 was a very different character in terms of how he was portrayed to the jury than in trial 1. I thought it was night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think about his testimony in trial 1, there is always an element where somebody is humanized when you hear his or her voice. Think of what the jury knew about Brian Higgins in trial 2. All they knew were those menacing videos in the waterfall. It was pointed out to this jury in trial 2 for the first time that John O'Keefe came over and kissed Karen Read in a way that was described as so sweet by Karina Kolakithis, right in front of Brian Higgins, who had texted her, well, and it takes on a sinister tone. He's now drinking. The jury can see that he's drinking on the videos. They see that he sees the kiss. And it's after that that he's saying, so insistent that John, come with them, even to the point where Chris Albert had to grab his arm it looked like he was trying to pull him away. And then after that, you see him kind of skulking about the Canton police station, doing what exactly after a night of drinking at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and on the phone with a call that's never explained. I mean, that's what the jury got in trial 2, and they got that because nobody called Brian Higgins to explain any of it. My personal view is I think that hurt the Commonwealth. I think it hurt the Commonwealth that they didn't call Brian Albert. I think it hurt the Commonwealth that they didn't call Michael Proctor.
What are your thoughts on that, Bob? We did get to see Yuri Buchanan read the text messages though between Karen and Higgins, which was comedy gold. I mean, was that a cold read for him because he got so into it. Like at first he was a little hesitant, but he really read them with feeling. And it was like, if this MSP thing doesn't work out for Yuri Buchanan, maybe he has a future in theater. I don't know, but
or dancing. I think he could be a professional dancer as well.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Chippendales,
Bob.
maybe at Chippendales.
I was just going to say, you got to make sure you give him a towel. I will tell you that I did see a little bit of the Brian Albert cross-examination because in the war room, I went in there one time and we had a very long table and half the table was taken up with David's preparation for Brian Albert. And I think the Department of Defense, with its recent bombing efforts in Iran, might have to take a second seat to the planning and the documents that David Yannetti had out for the cross of Brian Albert. And it had some vestiges of old school. David had like some cutouts of literal pieces of paper with subject headings, and he would have it on top of different evidence, etc. It was quite a process and quite a sight to see. So I did get a little glimpse into to what David was preparing. As regards to Buchanan, all I can say is I would take that trade every single day of the week, him testifying instead of Proctor, and his reading of those texts. To me, it was all a very net plus. Add to all of that AJ's excellent cross of Buchanan, and that's one witness that I would have liked to have seen on the stand day after day after day after day. He couldn't have stayed too long for me.
Agree. Or for us, we were enjoying it. I think that rather than let your 100 hours of preparation go to waste, David, if you're into it, maybe one day we can do like a mock trial thing, and you'll get to actually do it, and somebody can play Brian Albert, and we could go through it. Did either one of
No, thank you.
Did either one of you ever do any theater or any acting, like as a kid, or did you go in any school plays or anything like that? Just curious. No,
I didn't. No.
I think a lot of lawyers
I
are
did not.
frustrated actors. Yeah, I think I am one.
No.
So I know how it is. David, what witness do you think was the worst witness for the Commonwealth? First of all, almost every single one of them lied or was caught in a lie, and I think that their entire case blew up. But who do you think was the worst witness for the Commonwealth?
My feeling on this case is that the consistent theme from start to finish is that we were almost always wearing the white hat, and they were almost always wearing the black hat. I mean, they had some, uh, uh, witnesses that were sort of neutral, and I mean, the first responders, you can't really attack them. But when you get to Jen McCabe, Yuri Buchanan, I think there are some unlikable witnesses that I don't think connected with the jury. But I think the number one worst witness was Kelly, don't call me Dever. I thought that, I don't know if it was a lack of preparation or if she was an uncontrollable witness, but I think she came across as very, very unlikable. And, she really, I mean, when she ever corrected Alan, in that kind of sarcastic, snide way about mispronouncing her last name, and she also let slip some like horrible testimony for the Commonwealth. Like, my job depends on what I do here. After being called in by the commissioner of the Boston Police, it just looked terrible. And the long pauses and the hatred she had for Alan when he was just asking legitimate questions of her. I thought she was the worst witness for them. Although, I really thought Dr. Welcher was pretty unlikable himself, and Shannon Burgess self-immolated on the stand. I mean, you get me going, and I'm going to go down the list of
Please
the
do.
Commonwealth's witnesses, and then boy, you compare them to Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rentschler, Dr. Lapasada.
Amazing.
The most unbelievable forensic pathologist I've seen in my entire career. Did she hit the ball out of the park? And that doesn't even include Dr. Russell. It just, I don't know. In a way, like I look at the witnesses and I'm like, why was the jury out for more than a couple of hours? But
I know.
anyway, yeah. No, I thought Kelly Deaver was probably the worst. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah,
By the way, Kelly
there
Dever,
are
I'm
a
sorry.
number. Yeah, there are a number of them that didn't comport themselves well. Just overall, I thought it was ill comportment for them to attack, right? They're supposed to be there to assist the jury to find the truth, and some of them just came in with a clear agenda to attack the questioner. And David, I can't remember who it was that you had. It was there were two troopers. There was one who was a younger person who were just snide. There was the one after Nuttall that came on, was a first responder. There were a couple of them that were just not there to help the jury, but try to attack and to obfuscate. And then you go down the line, but I think for me, Trooper Buchanan stands out just for many aspects. We, as you do, Melanie, deal with witnesses a lot, and the underlying message to them is tell the truth, be firm in what you believe, don't be a jerk, and your job is to assist the jury in finding the truth. It's pretty simple. And if you're asked tough questions, be smart, but give honest answers, and we'll take care of any issues on redirect. But just be, and it almost seemed like for some reason they had the opposite of that in their minds. And there were several of those witnesses, and certainly as regards their quote experts, I thought Dr. Welcher was the paradigmatic example of how not to be an expert witness.
So smarmy. He was so smart. What was the most, I mean, not that any of this is fun because, a woman was facing life in prison, but Bob, for you, what was the most fun Commonwealth expert? Who did you have the most fun with? Because we watched you decimate Shannon with one end, Burgess. We watched you slice and dice Ian Whiffen, who you got to say that Jockey's phone could have been in the house. I mean, it was artful. What sticks out to you?
Well,
There's
there's
the
really
gotcha.
two categories. Yeah, there's two categories of experts. As I told the team when I'm crossing experts, my goal is to what I call shake hands with the opposite expert witness. Shake hands meaning get them to agree with me in our theory of the case. And I thought that happened with a number of experts. Ian Whiffen was one. The one I had the most fun with was Jessica Hyde. Jessica Hyde did a bit of tattooing of the defense in the first trial, and she came in with a very confident attitude. She came in on direct examination as sort of the professor teaching, and I know this whole area, etc. And I started out my cross with 4 errors that she made. And it took a while, but I got her to concede on 4 of the errors. And then in the end, got her to shake hands on the Faraday bag, right? That these should have been in the Faraday, because she was so wanting to teach the jury and be right. And after I got her to say she was wrong 4 times, she then wanted to recover. And I gave her all the recovery runway she wanted, because I was hopeful that she would do what she ultimately did, which was agree that how they dealt with the chain of custody of the phone and how they examined it was completely wrong. And in the end, the fun part was, and it was almost like we were frenemies, right? Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Mr. Alessi. You know, and it was kind of like a little bit of a competition of who was going to be nicer to the other one. And then in the end, when she admitted that the way they handled the phone, not putting it in a Faraday bag or Faraday box, and if you remember, and this was sort of the ultimate answer to your question and most fun, when she admitted that, yeah, they should have done it much differently. And then she turned to Attorney Brennan after she gave the answer and conceded it. And it's how I ended my cross. And she turned to him and said, sorry. She mouthed to him, sorry, like, sorry, I had to agree with Attorney Alessi on that. That she was the one I had the most fun with, in a much shorter answer, in sort of a 2 fun moments, was with Dr. Welcher when he was, you know, in his only could do his Dr. Welcher voice, was like, what's possible? Well, it's possible that Lexus could have gone in reverse and jettisoned into the universe. And I said, did you just say that it's possible? And he said, well, yeah, I'm an engineer. Anything's possible. And then when I said to him, I said, you know, and it was just a reaction. I said, okay, let's get back to reality in that. And then David, to the extent you want to hear it, with Dr. Wolf, their neurosurgeon, who I had a completely unorthodox way. And I told the team without telling them what I was going to do. I said, I've got a very unorthodox way I'm going to start this cross-examination. And I did it. So, you know, it's not one phone moment. Those were the 3. But the goal is to try to, you know, neutralize an expert. But in this trial, I tried to do much more than that to benefit the team.
It was master. It was a master class. Watching all of you is a master class that will be taught in law. We have so many law students also that watch the show. And when I was in law school, and even before law school and college, I would go sit in court and I would watch trials, because they don't teach you in law school how to be a good trial lawyer. They don't teach you that. And so being able to be a law student in today's age and be able to watch guys like you do it at the highest level is you don't realize how many people that you're teaching. One of the other things I just wanted to, before I lose my train of thought on Jessica Hyde, was shout out to Eugenia, the court officer, who was sitting next to Brennan on that bench when Jessica Hyde said, well, of course I remember the date. It was May the 4th, because May the 4th be with you. That was hilarious. And shout out to Eugenia, who did not break a smile. She did not burst out laughing, because, you know, she's a very serious court officer, but we could not get it. We must have rewound that 5 times. It was fantastic. What, shout out to your interns. First of all, the experience of a lifetime to be able to come and be an intern on a trial that will, in my opinion, turn out to be one of the biggest trials probably of the century. And I know that I've seen you give them thanks and praise in some of the other shows to also your paralegals. Is there anybody that you want to thank? Because, you know, it takes an army. It takes an army, and we were part of your army, we feel like. And if there's anybody that you'd like to thank, please do.
So the only person I think that I haven't thanked is my paralegal, Lisa Yeager, who's been with me for, you know, more than 15 years now. And she is, and always was, big time FKR. She asked permission to come to some of the rallies outside the courthouse as we were waiting for the verdict, which I happily gave her permission to do. So yeah, I mean, she was extremely helpful. Bob has already mentioned Carol Clark, who is unbelievable. I saw firsthand what she did for Bob and the team. If you'll allow me, I'd also like to thank my mom and Tanis, my sister, and my wife Robin, who there are always people behind the scenes that keep your spirits up. And my family was very supportive of me, and I'm very grateful for that.
It's hard to be married to a trial lawyer because, you know, you have to make such sacrifices, both of you. I mean, moving to Boston for, I don't know where you live, and I don't expect you to tell us, but I know Bob's from New York. Living there essentially for however many months you were living there, and it falls on your spouse to do everything else. And so you're very, very lucky to have that support system. Bob, I know that you've
Yeah,
talked about your wife, Ellen, and
exactly. Ellen, my daughters, Laura and Grace. I have to repeat again, Carol Clark. We've worked together, Carol and I think it's just the 36th year. My legal practice specialist, which is my firm's fancy word for the old term secretary, we've worked together for 33 years, and they prepare the trial notebooks, endless trial notebooks. A quick ditty about Carol Clark, just to give you an idea of her level of expertise. She operates like a fourth-year associate attorney. I had a big trial, it was a 15-day trial, I was cross-examining an expert, was doing it really well, but then came to a point where I knew I had an opportunity to seize on, but I couldn't get the document that I had in mind. And literally, and I'm sitting there, so I'm asking another question, I'm trying to buy time. All of a sudden, over my shoulder comes a laptop, literally the laptop. And I look out of the corner of my eye, it's Carol Clark's hand, and she's handing me her laptop with the document on it that I was struggling to find and locate. We didn't even communicate, but she knew which one it was because she knew the case so well. And almost seamlessly, I grabbed the thing and I just could then start cross-examining. That's Carol Clark every single day. And I just couldn't be more grateful for Carol and Angie Kellner and my family. And you hit it right on the head, Melanie. You're at trial. You need every single bit of help you can get. And it's not fun being in a family with a trial lawyer when trials are on, but they know it. And they were fully invested in this one. Not that they aren't in others, but this one just took on a different tone, and I needed them very, very much, and they delivered every day.
Bob previously mentioned about when he was talking about Massachusetts law, that if you get the decision, and maybe he hasn't mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. If you get a decision from another jurisdiction, there's a Massachusetts statute that allows you to introduce it into evidence if you get it, certified in that other state. And that's exceedingly difficult to do, particularly mid-trial. Somehow Bob had succeeded in, number one, finding the statute, which this Massachusetts attorney was unaware of, but that's Bob Alessi. But number two, coming up with the document. And, the There's I'm a big Red Sox fan, and this is going to go over your heads because guys probably don't know this, but like in 2004, they finally beat the Yankees, and a key moment
Oh, I know.
was sorry, but that was
okay.
like I was at Game 4 when they were going to get swept, and Dave Roberts stole second base, and the whole series turned. Before Dave Roberts, and there's a reason why I'm telling this story. Before Dave Roberts stole second base, he went in as a pinch runner, and he was told nothing except Terry Francona looked at him, gave him a wink, and that was it. That meant you have the right to go. And sure enough, he went and stole second. So the reason I'm telling that is I looked at Bob, and he was about to make the argument for the admission of that decision from Maryland. And I said, Bob, how did you get that? And he winked at me like Terry Francona winked at Dave Roberts. And I think he'll tell you that that's Carol Clark as well.
We had to get and I remember it's Massachusetts Rule of Criminal Procedure, Section 39, and nobody had heard of it. But it was if you needed for a law, including a decision of a foreign jurisdiction, you had to get a certified copy from the clerk of that court. And this was some, rural county clerk in Maryland. And I said it to Carol Clark, listen, if you could get it. I remember distinctly, it was a Monday morning. I asked her to do it. And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to take her 3 or 4 days. I kid you not, I went downstairs in the hotel we were staying at, 7:30 the next morning, the FedEx with a certified copy from the clerk was at the counter waiting for me. And there was an email from Carol Clark, who starts her day at 6:30 every day, with an email to me, make sure you go downstairs to the desk because that certified copy is in a FedEx envelope. And I checked the FedEx tracking to make sure that it was delivered and it's there waiting for you. That's Carol Clark.
And that's why she's been with you for so long, because when you find somebody that is that good and you treat them well and you pay them accordingly, it is nearly impossible to find people like that. And when you do, you have to hang on to them at all costs.
I could not have my legal career that I've had without Carol Clark. It's pretty simple.
We saw you get fired up a lot, Bob, and we loved every minute of it. Every time you made a motion to dismiss and during the course of the trial, and every time you got up to argue something pre-trial, it seemed to me that nothing personally offended you more, because I felt it too, than when the ethics of your co-counsel were attacked, let's say, by Mr. Brennan. And if you'd like to just speak about that a little, because that really personally hurt my soul as an attorney. I never like to see that happen, and especially when it's completely and totally unwarranted. What say you?
Yeah, and I will tell you that anytime you saw me in court, there was zero theatrics. It was all natural. It was just what came from me at the moment. And you astutely point out that one is one of the apexes of that. I call it the ARCA hoax. It was a hoax from the beginning, that there were things that we were doing wrong, that AJ was doing wrong, any other member of the defense was doing wrong. It was a hoax. It was Brennan's stunt, because he knew how devastating ARCA was, to try to get them not to be able to testify. And it was from he got on the case right up into the bitter end, and he would gaslight and keep saying, I don't, I'm happy for them I just want discovery. I just want that. Oh, they can tell, and it was not what he was saying it was. And then, it was him provoking the judge. I'll never forget it. It was February 11th, and then we had to come back February 18th. But it was all a hoax. It was a hoax, but it was serious, because the judge was on the precipice 3 times to pulling the pro hoc vice. And I fought it with everything I had. David knows that I spent, and this wasn't what I signed up for. I had a full practice. This was pre-trial. I spent 8 full days preparing for that in every angle, because, you get your pro hoc pulled in one jurisdiction, you're in jeopardy in every other jurisdiction you want to practice in. So when I was asked to defend that situation. I took it very seriously, but for the grace of God, that can happen to any of us. And I knew how serious it was and the seriousness of the consequences, but I was outraged. I was outraged as to not only the hoax, but the degree of play it was getting, right? And we were
the
several
grave
times on
concerns, the grave
Yes, yeah.
concerns.
And we were on the precipice of that happening, and we had to keep battling that. It kept coming up. So, I will just say that, as David said earlier, my brethren at the defense table, I was prepared to fight to the death on that, and I almost had to fight to the death on that.
It was wild to watch because I'm thinking we all know this case is a unicorn. This never happens where the FBI is doing a parallel investigation and they have experts that come in to prove your case for you. And then you have to tiptoe around that. It just doesn't happen out there. And so to have these grave concerns about these alleged communications and communicating on Signal, it was such a red herring to me. I was, why is this such a big deal? And obviously she wanted to make such a big deal about it. And there were so many other things that happened during the course of this 3.5-year ordeal that should have given her far greater concerns, in my opinion. Like, the hiding of the Sallyport video, which wasn't turned over to you until after the first trial. What world are we living in? And then she rules on the motion to dismiss. And in that motion to dismiss, I rarely curse on my channel, but the day that I read the decision of the motion to dismiss, I was trending on Twitter, which I don't even play on because of all the F-bombs I was dropping. She blamed Michael Proctor for hiding the Sallyport video in his drawer in a fight. Where did that even come from? Unless there were things that were impounded that we could not read, because I have read every document in this case. The judge's decision on that was something out of the Twilight Zone to me. Can you shed any light on that? Because if there's stuff that was impounded that we didn't see, that's fine. But it seemed like she just pulled it out of thin air, throwing Proctor under the bus. Is there anything you can say about that? If you can, I totally get it.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, all I can
I'm not
say
crazy.
is
I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
I was being
that's an
gaslit.
area.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an area that we're going to have to be assiduous about with regard to what we can say. But I will
Gotcha.
say this: my perspective all along was the more things that got thrown at us, the more things that raised the eyebrow to the general community. It was just more motivation that it's like we could sit there and complain about it, but in the end, we had a job to do, a mission for Karen, and we had to find a way to overcome, right? And I've said this many times that I kind of analogize to golf handicaps. Like certain golfers get like a +1, +2, and at times it seemed like, at least to me, that the Commonwealth had like a +18 handicap. But we still had to win the golf tournament. We still had to get the verdict. And that's what I focused on. And it was all the more sweeter in the end that we ended up succeeding, even though the handicap was pretty large on the other side.
It's funny that you bring up golf because I heard you, David, say that you're a terrible golfer, but you do golf with your sons. I mean, Bob, do you play golf? Every time the judge would say, I'll let him have it, I would make a golf joke. Like, we're not in a match play game where you're just going to let the guy not putt it out. Like, I'll let him have it. I'll let him have it. Like we're playing golf over here. It's like, I'll allow it. No, it's like overruled or sustained. Those are your choices, but it's, I'll allow it. I'll give it to him. We were being gaslit at the highest level. And I thank you for validating me, because that is what Mark Betterow did so much for me. And I just want to bring him up. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but I know how badly he wanted to help you and be on the defense team. And when we heard that his pro hac vice motion was denied, I have never seen that before. Did you expect that to happen? Was that a surprise to you too? Is there anything else that you feel comfortable sharing with us? Because selfishly, I was happy that he was able to be with me and sit with me through the verdict and hold my hand as I was bawling like a baby, but I really wish that he was there. So is there anything that you can share with us about that?
No, I guess I was not expecting that the motion for pro hac would be denied. I was not expecting it.
I've never seen that before.
I was not expecting it would be denied either, but let me just say that about Mark Betterow. what a brilliant attorney, what great insights he has into the law in general, and particularly on this case. And I believe it is probably the greatest consolation prize ever that Mark was able to return to the broader community of this case and be able to provide his amazing insights and analysis continuing. I believe in some ways and I know he calls balls and strikes. He sees things like they are, but I think he was just a great asset to truth and understanding getting out there in the broader community. So even though he wasn't able to be on the defense team, I still believe that Mark provided a great bit of legal services, as Melanie, you did. And I could go on and on with a list of others. I guess they call the law tubers, just brilliant attorneys who provided great insights. And in some regards, were our de facto co-counsel throughout the trial. So Mark Betterow had a great role, even though he wasn't formally on the defense team.
I mean, I didn't do any of this for thanks, or I appreciate it. Thank you. But like for thanks or clicks or likes. And when I started doing this, it was not the popular thing to do. It wasn't. I was relentlessly attacked. I was doxxed. I was harassed. Like, it was horrible. But I felt so strongly about this and I wanted people to know about it. And I wanted people to talk about it. And I wanted people to see what was going on behind the curtain. And I think that based on, the viewership between season 1 and season 2, so many more people were interested in it by the second trial, that I think that all of us here on the tubes of you and the Twitterverse and the TikTok, I knew it was getting really popular when my kids were telling me. All of a sudden they're talking about Karen Read on my For You page on TikTok. And they're like, Ma, you got to go on TikTok. I'm like, I have no idea how to do that and no interest. But it was like, it's the way that it snowballed. And did you notice a groundswell of support or a difference in public support between trial 1 and trial 2? And let's just, shout out to the supporters who don't even know Karen Read, but believe so much in justice that they were there supporting. And I had the opportunity during trial 1 to get there, and I didn't tell anyone I was coming. It was very secret. And I showed up with Kelly Reed, and I had the opportunity to meet so many people. I don't like the term boots on the ground, but so many supporters who were there and giving of their days and their lives to be there to show support for justice. And it was just such a warm community of people. There was not a bad bone in the bodies of anybody there. And I just wonder how that affected you. Did it bolster you at all going into the courthouse every day, seeing the support? Did you notice a difference between the first trial and the second trial?
Well, can I ask you, Melanie, you thought, and I just don't have perspective on this in terms of the amount of attention. I mean, I thought, I don't know that I would have concluded that there were more eyeballs on this trial than the last one. But that could be from sort of my myopic view of what was going on, because I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to social media and many of the programs while the case was on trial. I was just paying attention to what was going on at the courthouse. And the biggest difference for me was the crowds were big both times, but the second trial had a much larger buffer zone, and it was much quieter out there. So, the first trial, I kind of felt like we were fighting through the crowd to get into the courthouse and fighting to get out as well. It was more orderly for the second trial. So I may have a skewed view of, how much attention each trial was getting. And it also brought with it sort of a personal bias that, everybody saw, exhaustively all the witnesses in trial number 1. And I just thought to myself going into trial number 2 that nobody's going to be interested in hearing this stuff all over again. And so I was genuinely surprised that people were still in it. They were still, watching it as they sat at their cubicle at work with one earphone in for the case, and another one for whatever they're doing on the left side. So I was surprised at the attention, and I also think in retrospect that people were rewarded for giving it another shot, because I think it was a completely different case.
Yes, it was.
And it was interesting for that reason, for different reasons.
Yes. Bob?
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
have
the
a point
cases
of
that you
reference.
try are normally big, but not televised to this level of it. And the fact that you guys chose to come on YouTube to do your first interviews instead of going to mainstream media speaks volumes. Because these are the people here. There's over 22,000 people watching right now who adore you, who are so thankful to what you've done for what you've done. And I know that you don't want the accolades, but one question, and I want to be respectful of your time because I know that you may have to jump soon. If I do not ask this question, a lot of people will be mad at me because a lot of people sent me this question, and that is to both of you, but mostly Bob. What is your workout regimen? Do you use any apps for your workouts? And tell us about your nutrition plan or your diet plan, because mostly men sent me that question. And if I don't ask it, they'll be mad at me.
Yeah, so David knows my workout plan. I had the great pleasure every once in a while of going to the Equinox and working out in the gym with David. My workout regimen is every second day I work out straight for about 3 hours, 15 minutes, 3 hours, 20 minutes. I start with what I call the bike to nowhere, the upright bike, and I do that for about 20, 30 minutes. And then I go lift weights for the rest of the time. And I try to do what I call aerobic lifting, just keep moving from machine to machine. My morning routine, every single morning I get up, I stretch my back and I do core sit-ups. And then I drink 33 ounces of water is the first thing I do in the morning. And you might say, well, it's kind of odd with 33. I've got a container that's 33 ounces and I down it. And I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. And so, that's my regimen. I used to do it every other day, but as you get older, you need more recovery time. And in terms of food, I had the great blessing of my wife, again, who was a prosecutor who basically went in the kitchen and cooked all my meals. And I've got an upside down diet. And I have dinner for breakfast, I have dinner for lunch, and then I start having breakfast for dinner, and I just eat. I'm eating like every 2 hours, and I'm up. I sleep about 2 hours and 30 minutes a night. And so I'm burning a lot of calories. So I have to eat a lot. And everybody was patient with me because when we were preparing, at night, and we'd be in my hotel room, and everybody knew, okay, Bob's going to go have his oatmeal now. He's going to go make his salad. And so it's every 2 hours I'm having food. But that is a summary of my routine. I skip rope. I had a jump rope. One thing I loved about our hotel room, there are like 18-foot ceilings. It seemed like 16 feet ceilings in the room. So I could jump rope in my room. And given I was a boxer, I love to jump rope. So I would do that. So that's a summary of my fitness routine. And my family did an intervention 3 times to stop me from boxing. Every once in a while, I still sneak out and go do some sparring in some musty gym wherever I'm located. But that's pretty much it.
Wow. David, you got anything to add? We heard your cooler is called the Yannetti, and you rented space in your cooler out to David. So
I did. Yeah. Listening to actually having a front row seat to Bob's workout schedule. You called this case a unicorn.
Yeah.
Bob is a unicorn as a person. He needs very, very little sleep. When he said that he was preparing eight days in a row to defend, AJ's Pro Hac Vice, he means he was preparing till 3 a.m. before he gets a couple of hours sleep and starts all over again when he wakes up at 5. And, I'll underscore what he just said. 3 hours and more at the gym working out. I have never done that in my life. I feel like I work out hard when I go to the gym, but I pale in comparison to him. And when he says aerobic lifting, You know, we're not working out together. We're doing different things. I have a different routine, but I would, you know, pass by him when I'm going to the water cooler to fill up my water bottle. And he's doing his fifth or sixth set of one exercise that he's going to do before he goes on to the next one, that he's going to do another 8 sets. He's an animal. And that's why he's 67 years old. He's got the body of a 25-year-old. And he's one of the healthiest guys I know. So I can't do it. I can't keep up with him. I can't keep up with his schedule. I can't keep up with his workouts. I can't keep up with his food. But you know, I look up to him.
Well, let me say this. I do all of that. I call David the Adonis because his physical fitness, head to toe, overall, he is like an Adonis. And I do all of that, and he still ends up being the Adonis. So I have to do all of that just to have a chance to get toward his stature. So he's much more efficient and ends up with a better result.
Yeah,
But I still love him anyway. I still love him anyway.
You know that the picture of you, Bob, and Will the Galera, who is here in the chat somewhere, of flexing on the steps was a big hit. I think a lot of ladies have it as their screensaver. But, you know, I'm not going to give away anyone's secret. One other thing I've been, everyone wants to know, do you know what happened to the socks? The socks, John O'Keefe's socks were on him in the hospital. They never made it into evidence. I thought, you know, he might have gone into that house that was shoeless and took off his shoes, and maybe there'd be dog hair on the socks. If you can't talk about it, you can't talk about it. But we want to know about the socks. But if you tell me you can't answer them, that's fine too. But I really want to know. No, you can't answer. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say
something else
anything.
that you might not know is that I think in song lyrics. And so whenever I would think in song lyrics, we started a Spotify playlist for the Karen Read trial. We started it at the beginning of the trial, and every time I think in song lyrics, I would put it on the list, and we have like 13 and a half hours of music on Spotify. The link is in the show notes below. And so if you, first of all, tell me what kind of music that you like who's your favorite band? And then secondly, if there is a song that's in your head that will you always remind you of this case or this trial, tell me what it is so I can put it on the list.
David, you go first.
Yeah, I don't think I can
taste.
associate. Yeah, I don't think I can associate a song with this trial. I mean, I like music from the '60s. I mean, I'm not that old.
We have lots of it on the playlist.
Yeah, I mean,
Can I Get a Witness? We got on there. We got some, you know. We got to get out of this place.
The Rolling Stones are my number one band. They always have been. But you know, I like the Beatles and the Doors, and you know, all those.
We've got
bands.
Shattered for the Taillight on the list, and we've got Under My Thumb, because the weatherman came in and said that he would measure inches by his thumb. So
props.
I'll allow it. Bob, what do you got?
I love all kinds of music, and I play all kinds of music. If you know, when the team would come in my room, sometimes I would have classical music on. I love all kinds of classical music, so I would play that, especially when I was preparing my work. I had classical music on. When I was kind of, you know, doing jumping rope or whatever in my room, I'd have all kinds of music. I like rap. I like all kinds of Biggie Smalls, Mace, you name it. I like the rap. I like hip hop, which is, you know, part of the reason for Biggie Smalls. I love classical music. That's what I could play all the time. I go all the way from Cream. One of my favorite songs that I played during the tour was White Room with Cream. I like everything Eric Clapton, you know, Yardbirds, you name it, every band he was in. I go through to Bad Company, love Bad Company, their album, you know, Bad Company, their best song on that, Bad Company. And then I'll go all the way to modern, you know, singers. My daughters laugh when I mispronounce it, Dua Lipa. I've got a playlist of all the top 40 all the time, and I play them. And then my workout station is, I have Sirius XM. So Lithium, which is a little bit of the 90s grunge rock. You know, and I love all of those artists. Red Hot Chili Peppers, but Lithium actually has its green icon. It's Lithium Workout, and that
Oh.
is I just punch that in, and on Sirius XM there's a lot of just music, so you don't hear the DJs, and so I have a whole host of Sirius XM classic rock, which is 25. Or excuse me, it's, let me just see. There's 25 and 26. I get them. Oh, Classic Rewind is 25. Classic Rock is 26. So I play those, but I like the 60s. You know, there's I think it's channel 78 now. It used to be 6 on Sirius XM. There's a 60s, Petulia Clark, those, and there's a great host on Sunday night for the 60s show where all the great music, Elvis, you name it, that is on. So I like all kinds of music, and I play it at various times of the day.
But Bob's we're talking about that. I hit on the song that encapsulates the trial for me, which is clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. From Reservoir Dogs, one of a great Tarantino movie.
And if I remember right, the band is Steelers Wheel. Steelers Wheel, I think is the band.
Do you know that there was a state trooper who was responsible for our security, Sergeant
Fanning?
Mike Hardman. No, he had nothing to do with the Norfolk PA's office. And I know that. No, but he was very professional. We became friendly with him. He really did a great job of protecting us and striking the right balance with crowd control. He wasn't out to, make trouble, and he didn't hold it against the defense that we, did such a job bashing certain state police in the case. But we discussed that song. And I thought for sure that it was a band that I had heard of, and I just couldn't think of it in the moment. And he said, "Oh, Steelers Wheels." And I said, I thought you meant Steely Dan. I was like, "You're wrong. You're wrong." I went out you can't get reception in the quarter. So I went outside, I Googled it, and sure enough, it was Steelers Wheels. And I was like, I'll tell you, I've respected you before, but you've just gone up. You've skyrocketed. He knew it right away. He was a big Tarantino fan as well. So it's funny. That's the song I would say if I had to pick one.
Did you guys?
Melanie, what's your song? What's your favorite?
The Grateful Dead followed me around for many years. Tannis and I bonded over that. We're both Deadheads. And
so is my wife.
I also, oh really? Okay, then she'll come to Vegas with us. They're going to announce it again soon, so that'll be good. And John Mayer's playing with them now, so love. I
saw them at Fenway. They were great.
Yeah, Dave Matthews. So I was,
yes.
Like during the trial one Wednesday, I was like, I have a date with Dave Matthews tonight, you guys. I gotta go. I can't get to all these questions, and so I was like in the pit, 5 feet away from Dave Matthews. That's my thing. Like concerts are my thing. Some people spend money on jewelry and clothes, and concerts are my thing. It keeps me going. So I love live music, and I love talking to you guys. So I just, I don't want to kick you out, but I know you had Bob, you probably got to go. I could talk to you guys for hours. I could make a whole series out of this because there's so much I want to talk. Did you happen to see a video on YouTube called How Dare You? It's an AI video. It's a Karen Read anthem. A guy in my chat wrote the music to it, and it's got all of you singing and How Dare You. And it's really amazing. I'll send it to you. You should check it out. We loved watching it during the trial. Any closing thoughts before you go?
I just like to add, just to pick up on something that you said earlier about us, sort of going on and speaking with, all the smart commentators that have been talking about the case on, YouTube and so forth, including yourself, Melanie. But Bob and I made a conscious decision that that is who we wanted to be with. And there are a number of reasons for that. Number one, we wanted to thank all of you for just the smart, supportive commentary that really buoyed us as we navigated through 2 trials over the course of 3.5 years. Having that support behind us, allowed us to sort of concentrate on the job at hand, and it just reinforced that we were doing the right thing. And the second thing is, we're not out here to sell any story or monetize anything. We're here to really, I look at it, I know Bob does, as sort of, giving back. I mean, what a head trip it was to walk into a courthouse and walk out of a courthouse and just have strangers cheering for you. I've never experienced and will never experience anything like that in my life. I just drank it up. I wanted to shake hands with everybody. I wanted to thank everybody. And this is I mean, people will get sick of us. I mean, we're not that interesting.
I don't think so.
And we might be oversaturating ourselves, but we can't stop, because I look at it as I want to tell people just how much we appreciated that. When I lose my mind as I get older, I don't think I will ever forget walking out of the courthouse and seeing that crowd outside cheering for us after the verdict. I mean, it didn't last for that long, but I have this enduring feeling and image in my head of everybody that was out there, and just the love I felt for everybody. So, I kind of look at it like, to the extent that anybody, wants a little bit more of us, I am so happy to give it. And, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's out there supporting us. It meant so much to us. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Of course.
Yeah, and if I could, Melanie, just add a little bit to David, and I think based upon what David said, everybody can better understand why I made the statement that's been quoted a bit: everybody loves Yannetti. And I don't think there's any ability of David Yannetti to oversaturate anybody. But I want to build upon what David said. We had the opportunity to the Today Show, many things they wanted us to come on. We could have done virtually anything, anywhere. And we wanted to come on to YouTube shows closest to the people, closest to the supporters, closest to the people like yourself, Melanie, and everybody else who do things so well and similar to what you do. But we wanted to have a prolonged conversation so people could get a little bit more of a look into things, but just to let them know also that their voices were extremely meaningful and impactful to us in so many ways. And I've said before, I felt like an avatar for them and a special responsibility to them to work harder. They motivated me, they exhilarated me, and I'm just so grateful. And we may be criticized for what we're doing, our transparency, but I feel it to be, and of course we have to adhere to our professional responsibility and codes of conduct, but I feel it is almost a responsibility to come on and with folks like you that are so authentic and so accountable to your audience, and basically say and give them some information because they invested so much of their time. I just think it would be such a shortcoming for us to just go in a stilted environment and sit down for sound bites. What better to come on shows like yours and the many others who knew the case, know the case so well, and live through it with your audience. Your audience love all of you. And I really think it was such an easy call to do. And I hope to the extent that if we're criticized in the future for doing it, we don't worry about criticism, but that, people understand we're eschewing monetization. We're coming on and talking with people just like hopefully we could be in their electronic living room and hopefully give them information and keep them connected to what they so ably and deeply invested in. So this is for us a joy to do, and we really appreciate being able to keep a connection with everybody.
And that's why you guys are the heroes. And that's why David Yannetti was every one of us when he was wiping his eyes after the verdict, because you're so human and you're like real life heroes. And yeah, you could go on the Today Show for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and say, but you know, these people have connected with you on such a level. And I love that so much about you both. I love your daughter, Laura, Bob. I love your sister, Tanis, David. And hopefully we'll all be able to get to spend some time together in person at some point. And knowing that Bob Alessi's, one of his specialties is Section 1983 claims and RICO actions, we can expect that perhaps we will be covering this case for a long time to come. I certainly hope so. It is my personal hope that Karen Read owns the state of Massachusetts by the time this is all over, because I think that she deserves that. And I think I've never met anybody stronger than Karen. If anybody, you know, they say everything happens for a reason and power of prayer. And I know that Bob, you and Karen went to church together and, you know, prayed together. And we have people who were saying the rosary. And, you know, I grew up Catholic, even though I sued the Catholic Church. That's why it was so personal to me. That something about the power of prayer really works. When we had, I mean, my verdict show has over 600,000 views. I mean, the people were with you. The people were with Karen, and she had her strength in large part because you were there to hold her up, you know? And I don't know that anybody else would have been able to do that. And I've said from the beginning, you know, what is so disturbing about this case is that Karen Read could be any one of us. You know, she could be you, she could be me, your sister, your daughter, your wife. And if this can happen to Karen Read, then you better, it sure as hell can happen to you. And if Karen Read wasn't financially successful and didn't have money to be able to afford the $100,000 cash bail, she would still be sitting in Norfolk County pokey for, you know, up until the second trial, and she would have just been released. And that's what's so disturbing about this on so many levels. And so we just can't thank you enough. And also Alan and Liza, I don't want to leave them out of this. I'm sure they will speak when they feel like the time is right for them. I, you know, of course, I don't think there's any bad blood between any of you, but the fact that the two of you have chosen to team up on your interviews, I love this so much. Somebody said in the chat, find a man who looks at you the way that Yannetti and Alessi look at each other. And I couldn't say it better. You guys really were the dream team. And you know, we don't get a lot of modern day heroes or a lot of modern day victories, especially when we're watching trials. And this was such a pleasure and an honor that you would sit down with me. And I am truly, truly grateful and thankful for everyone who chose to watch with us tonight, and for the both of you. And I hope that you come back, and when you rewatch this, watch the chat, open up the chat. I'll teach you how to use YouTube, because, you know, I heard you want to start a podcast, so call me, I'll help. Watch the chat and you will see the praise going by for the hour and a half that you were here. And it will make you happy just to read all of the comments later that people will leave for you. And I can't thank you guys enough. You're the shizzle.
Yeah, no,
You guys are awesome.
you are awesome, and I just want to thank you again for just how well you treated my sister. I love the Queen Tanis, you know, which goes back, I don't know if it's a year now or many, many, many months. I loved it.
It was the
And
day she came to when you weren't there.
my family loved it. Yeah. I mean, I was so proud of her for, you know, she hadn't practiced law for quite a while, and she stepped into the #1 high profile case in the country, and she hit the ball out of the park. I'm so proud of her. And you were the first one to comment on that and recognize that, and I'll never forget you for that. So I want to thank you for that.
She's amazing. You're amazing. Your mother's amazing. I know she watches too. So, Mrs. Yannetti, you did a great job raising your children. You know, and that is
Sure
like,
did.
you can really tell a person's character by looking at their family and who raised them and who they raised. And I can see that, and who they are married to. And you guys are really inspirational. And just keep on keeping on.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much for coming. I hope
Thank
we
you,
can do it
Melanie.
again.
It's a pleasure.
All right, guys. All right, you
Take
guys,
care.
I will answer your questions. We will go through all the super chats. Wasn't that fun? How fun was that? You guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging in. I did not want to put up super chats while these amazing guys were on with me because I wanted to respect their time, and they have to keep it going. And how great was that? I'm blown away. Blown away. Let's get to some questions, shall we? Lindsay became a new member, and Ice Cream Truck Special free silver bracelets became a new member. Gifted 5. Thank you so much. And Faux Crash Randy became a member. Thank you. Just these guys don't know how to end it, so we'll say goodbye. And I hope you liked it. I wanted to try and make it a different interview than we saw Runkle give and Peter give, because we were all very different creators. And so I wanted to give you guys something different and a little like more deep cuts into the trial and the first trial. And I think we did that. Oh, look at Andrea's here. Hi, Andrea. Andrea gifted 10. Thanks, Andrea. You're the best. She's another one of my besties. Love her. The Alessinator gifted 10. Thank you so much. And Hello Kitty became a new member from Georgia. And What Witnesses Sandy Dever didn't want to testify. Thank you a lot. I think we got into some of that stuff. Thanks, Janice. Nikki for becoming a new member. And YouTube user became a new member. This is epic, said Lisa C. Thanks for hanging out with me for 16 months. Dream until your dreams come true. Meatball shops at Wegmans close to his office. Today he got muffins. I swear he faked a call when he saw my... very funny. So you ran into Marcy today at Wegmans? That's kind of funny. And Octopop said Melanie starting the show with a sealed sidebar is very apropos. Just kidding. Well, you know what? We had some ground rules to go over. And I didn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable with any questions that they couldn't answer. And I didn't want to cover what's already been covered. And, you and I can cover, the jury reactions and Alan's statement and Marcy's statement and that on our own. And so I wanted to ask them questions that were personal to them and also know where we were not allowed to go, because what's the point of me asking questions that they don't feel comfortable answering? How's long till we start? Thank you. Jay Hool, I just have to ask, how do you manage to keep straight faces when Randy's no dummy or ham sandwich? Much love. Yeah, it's not easy. And you could tell. I mean, you could see the delight. Thanks, Blessed in Texas. Is Yannetti planning to take on the Sandra Birchmore case? I don't think so. I don't see how he would. That's being prosecuted. I don't think he would defend Matthew Farwell, if that's what you're asking, being a defense attorney. I'm sure Matthew Farwell already has an attorney. The Goodwins are here and they gifted a membership because they're awesome. Kelly Max said, so happy to be here. Totally fangirling. Me too. But did I hold it together? Did I keep it together? I even had a meet and greet with Robin, David's wife, before the show. So that's why it took a little longer too, because I wanted to meet her. And that was awesome. B Crumbs gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much for your generosity. Sharon creates the shoes. I asked about the socks. I didn't want to get into the shoes because when Glera gets his turn and his interview, he can go into the shoes. I wanted to let him ask that on his own. Anna said, is this the same Chris Albert? No, it is not. I looked into that a long time ago. Thank you for your 10. Ham sandwich for the win. Oh my God, the heroes. Welcome to Cupcake World. Amazing. Thank you. Oh, sweetie, no. Oop, oop. For gifting 5. StreamYard is having issues because I think you guys have broken the internet. Donna, attorneys Alessi and Yannetti, thank you. I hope they come back and just rewatch all the comments and the chat, because you guys are amazing and I know you love them so much. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Miriam. Lally's knee symbols are here. You guys have some amazing names. Sassy Alessi. Thank you, Sassy B. Ham sandwich. Absolutely amazing and so impressed by their human spirit, integrity, and determined demeanor in court. Thank you and your entire team. I mean, did you think you could love these guys anymore? Did you think you could love them any more than you did tonight? I mean, I didn't think I could love them anymore, and now I love them 10 times more. It's like the bromance we didn't know we needed, and I love it. It gives me hope, that you could make a friend in your 60s. That's like an amazing thing. And I feel like they're going to be besties forever. Gigi says, thank you for everything you did for Karen, to Bob and David from Scotland. Stephanie, what was the first piece of surprise evidence in the case? Dish, 3 amazing lawyers. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miriam. Desiree said, I'm in law heaven right now. Thanks for hanging out with me for 14 months. To making it count, RIP Enrique Delgado Garcia, an MSP recruit who passed away inside the MSP boxing ring. Sources claim that due to a conflict, MSP is unable to investigate the untimely death of the otherwise healthy and love 25-year-old man. We have learned recently to making it count that there is a grand jury in process on that. And I don't know if is it federal, chat? David's sister actually showed up in court one day. It was pre-season 1. There was a day when David couldn't be there. And so Tanis Yannetti came in, and I didn't know. He just said that she hadn't been inside a courtroom for many years. I had no idea. But she came in, she owned it. She owned it. You can go back into my pre-trial season 1 playlist, and it's in there. She was amazing. And ever since that day, I said, she's my queen. Queen Tanis, she owned it. She did not let the judge steamroll her at all. And I now call her a dear friend. So I am very happy about that. This trial has brought many people together, not just YouTube creators and all the great creators who have covered this case with me. We've all been together. We've all been on each other's shows. You know, I think the first collab that I did, I want to say, was with the Glairer, right? Or Brian at LTL. And then Young Jerks and Mark Betterow and all of the local creators, Auntie Deb, Nurse Kim, that have chosen to keep talking about this case and keep it in the public eye. And it took an army, and we were all part of the army. You're part of the army. You shared the streams out. You got people interested in it. You told your family the story of the Karen Read case for 3 days, because that's how long it takes, right? That's how long it takes to tell a friend the story of the injustices that happened to Karen Read. And now we get to sit here and say, Karen Read was freed. And you guys did that. So there is a grand jury ongoing for Enrique Delgado Garcia. We are hoping we'll hear something soon. I did do a couple of shows on that case as well, because I'm outraged by that too. I need another thing to outrage me. Gen X 1968. Thank you so much, Bob and David, for being here. You're an inspiration for us all. So much respect for you and your legal team. I watched both trials. I'm just in awe. Yeah. Thank you, Redondo Beach. Kelly, find a man who looks at you the way Yannetti looks at Alessi. It's mutual. You could see it's mutual. It is the Mutual Admiration Society. It's amazing. It's amazing. You men are heroes and such an inspiration. We can't all thank you enough for everything. And thank you as always, Mel. So proud. Yeah, I didn't really also want to talk about Karen and Alan and Liza, because I feel like they will speak when they want to, you know? So I didn't want to speak for them. I didn't want to ask David and Bob to speak for them, but in no way does that mean they were not an integral part of the team. And I would love to talk to Liza. I call her, what did I call her? I envisioned her kicking off her stilettos underneath her desk and just killing it on paper. I mean, she knew where every document was. Anytime any of the attorneys needed anything, even the judge would say Ms. Little, and she would always have it at the ready. Anything that was needed, she knew where everything was. I am sure, and I've heard that she behind the scenes was like a drill sergeant. She knows everything about this case. And I'm sure that I would love to talk to her in the future. If she ever wants to talk to me, I would love to. That would be a great interview. Jody Mitchell met David at a local North Shore rest stop before the first trial, where he went unnoticed, but not by me. Been FKR from day one and asked to shake his hand, and he obliged. I told him I felt like I was meeting Mick Jagger. That's so funny that you say that when he just told us that the Rolling Stones is his favorite band. Bling is the new black. Thank you. This is a special shout out to Robert, my husband. Don Griffin knows you. He just retired as a world boxing judge. Thank you. Tricity, my favorite moment was Alessi walking back into court and everyone screaming Yannetti's name. And he says, yeah, everybody loves David Yannetti. Yep. WWYD. What would Yannetti do is my mantra. Thank you, CS. Blueberry bubblegum. So much respect for you guys. Everest pales in comparison to the uphill battle you and your team endured, but good men prevail, as you did with honesty, integrity, and style. You kicked ass. You know, it's so rare that we watch a trial where I've chosen specific trials to watch with you. So this is our 4th acquittal this year, and that is so exciting. But this is what we really, really wanted. We really, really wanted it. And so, yeah, it's not often that you find defense attorneys that have as much honor as an integrity, more so than the prosecution in this case, 100%. We see it's often, but not in the magnitude that we saw it during both trials and pre-trial. It's rare, and the fact that we got to witness it is just a blessing. Charlie Lynn, thanks for gifting 5 memberships. How dare you? I'm so excited. To Melanie King David and Six Pack Scissor Hands Together. Bravo to Alan Jackson for his fabulous reply to Hanky. Yeah, that's wild. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, I'll read it to you. Alan Jackson gave a statement today, and that's why I think he's got maybe a press tour planned with Karen. I have no idea, but I, of course, spoke to him during the trial, during verdict watch, during one of the days on the weekend on Father's Day. He called me and we spoke, and he had a lot of really kind things to say to me, and he's an amazing man. He's really amazing, Alan Jackson too. And I think they have something planned, and that's why we haven't seen him give any interviews yet. Anyway, on video, he did do Howie Carr. We played that the other night, and he gave a statement to. I will read it. Let me read it. He gave a statement to. Hold on, let me find it for you. Boston 25. I think he gave it to Ted Daniel. And you know what? Good on him. Just like David and Bob said, they felt that they wanted to come to YouTube for their interview. They could have gone to the Today Show. They probably could have gone to 60 Minutes or anybody else. And they chose to go to YouTube. And that's a testament to you guys. They didn't go to Court TV. Not that Court TV would have paid him anyway. But wow. Okay, let us see. Here it is. Pull it up. Boop. And so it was interesting to me that Alan Jackson went with Howie Carr, who's a local Boston guy who's been screaming about corruption for many, many years in the Boston, in the Massachusetts area. And he gave his statement to Ted Daniel, who's been there from the beginning. And it seemed clear to me anyway. I mean, maybe he wasn't allowed to say it in the beginning, but it seems pretty clear to me that Ted Daniel was on the side of justice in the murder of John O'Keefe. And I could tell that by the interview that he did with Karen, the one in the car that I really, really liked. That was my favorite one that he did with Karen. But also you can see now, because this is the statement. Let me just build this up. That he gave to Ted Daniel, who under that stupid lottery system never really got into the courtroom very much during this trial. Let's listen to the piece.
Breaking news, attorney Alan Jackson releasing a scorching new statement on behalf.
Wait, something just happened with my speakers. Hold on one second. I don't know why my settings just changed. Hold on. Can you hear this? Hold on.
Half of Karen Read. Investigative reporter Ted Daniel broke this story within the last hour. He joins us live. Ted, this statement, strong words to say the least.
Absolutely. Just when I thought this case might be winding down, nope, it ramps up again. This is a targeted statement, and Alan Jackson takes aim right at Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan and Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey. Let's get right to it. Jackson says, quote, the jury has spoken, but Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, in an egregious breach of prosecutorial ethics, has tried to publicly shame and discredit that very jury. For him to attempt to supplant his personal views of the jury is a desperate attempt to save face in the wake of unanimous rejection of the prosecution's case. Jackson goes on to say, quote, the Commonwealth's defamatory public comments ring hollow to the very constituents they are supposed to serve. It is now crystal clear that disgraced DA Michael Morrissey has no interest in actually seeking justice for John O'Keefe by identifying and prosecuting the real killer or killers. Jackson appears to be responding to the statement Hank Brennan put out yesterday. That's Brennan right there. Brennan described a campaign of, quote, intimidation and abuse by Read's camp, calling it the antithesis of justice. And Brennan said no one else was responsible for John O'Keefe's death other than Karen Read. We have reached out to Hank Brennan and DA Morrissey's office this afternoon. Carrie, Jackson's full 2-page statement, we have it on our website, boston25news.com.
And Ted, we were talking about this earlier. We really still haven't heard much yet from the DA in this case, from Morrissey.
No, we have not heard a lot from the DA. All he gave was that 4-sentence statement. Let's look at what's happening here. Karen Read clearly has the momentum. She won in court in a big way. And I could only think that Brennan's statement from yesterday really rubbed Read's team the wrong way, Carrie, and they didn't want Brennan to have the last word here.
2 pages of not having that last word, Ted. Thank you so much. We know you're going to stay on top of every development on this case, even after the verdict.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's read the entire statement. All right, I don't know what's going on. Stop. Here is the entire statement. I'll read the article to you. This was today at 5:14 p.m. Eastern. It was first published on the Boston 25 website. Karen Read attorney Alan Jackson blasts special prosecutor in new statement. Karen Read attorney Alan Jackson issued a lengthy statement on Tuesday blasting special prosecutor Hank Brennan over his, quote, egregious breach of prosecutorial ethics after Read's acquittal in the 2022 death of John O'Keefe. Jackson's critical comments come after Brennan on Monday said that a, quote, campaign of intimidation and abuse, end quote, by Read's camp led the jury in her second trial to find her not guilty of second-degree murder and manslaughter. She was convicted of drunk driving. Jackson also fired a shot at disgraced Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey for having no interest in seeking justice for O'Keefe. The jury handed down its verdict last Wednesday after deliberating over 4 days. Jackson first shared the statement with Boston 25's Ted Daniel. Breaking. Okay, here it is. Jackson's full statement is as follows. I gotta make it bigger for myself. The jury has spoken, but Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan, in an egregious breach of prosecutorial ethics, has tried to publicly shame and discredit that very jury. For him to attempt to supplant his personal views for that of the jury is a desperate attempt to save face in the wake of a unanimous rejection of the prosecution's case. The rules of professional conduct are clear. A prosecutor should support the legitimacy of the justice system and promote public confidence in its operations. Openly attacking a jury's verdict because he disagrees with it undermines that centuries-old edict. Mr. Brennan claims that his investigation was thorough. If that were true, the Commonwealth would have uncovered what we, the defense, uncovered: hidden exculpatory evidence, lies, and perjury by the Commonwealth's own witnesses, cops covering for other cops, a biased and corrupt lead investigator with personal ties to witnesses, and inculpatory and suspicious conduct by myriad witnesses. The only job of an ethical prosecutor is to seek the truth in a just and fair manner. The Commonwealth fell wildly short of that responsibility. Theirs was not an effort to find justice for John O'Keefe. Rather, it was a personal vendetta against Karen Read by DA Michael Morrissey and his handpicked prosecutors, and it cost the people of Norfolk County millions. The fact is, Karen Read is factually innocent, and this case never should have gone to trial in the first place. This case is a stark reminder that there has been a complete breakdown in what is supposed to be our justice system. Those in power are more interested in protecting themselves than the citizens that they are sworn to protect. The Commonwealth's defamatory public comments ring hollow to the very constituents they are supposed to serve. It is now crystal clear that disgraced DA Michael Morrissey has no interest in actually seeking justice for John O'Keefe by identifying and prosecuting the real killer or killers. The Commonwealth would rather simply condemn the jury and its fair and lawful verdict. We are thankful for the jury's commitment to truth and that they found their way to a just verdict. But make no mistake, if DA Michael Morrissey had his way, the truth never would have come out in this case. It would have been lost somewhere in private and deleted conversations that would never have seen the light of day. Corruption like this doesn't happen in isolation. How many innocent people have been railroaded because of failures in our judicial system? We as citizens must demand more of our institution. Assistant District Attorney Adam Mullally spearheaded the prosecution's efforts in Read's first trial, which ended with a hung jury. Brennan, who replaced him in the retrial, said Monday that he's disappointed in the verdict and the fact that he couldn't achieve justice for O'Keefe and his family. Brennan said that the evidence in the murder case led to only one person. After an independent and thorough review of all the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and only one person. Neither the closed federal investigation nor my independent review led me to identify any other possible suspect or person responsible for the death of John O'Keefe, Brennan added. Ridiculous. That is just insane. And Brennan continued, we cannot condone witness abuse, causing again, we read this the other day. All he's doing here is defending the McCabe's and the Alberts, and it's wild to me. The fact that he didn't even thank the jury and is basically saying, I reviewed the entire file and it only pointed to Karen Read. Like, dude, we know you weren't here and we know you didn't even watch the first trial. And are you that sucky of an attorney? I just can't even with him. But anyway, reading Alan Jackson's statement leads me to believe that this is far, far, far from over. You let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's far from over? I don't. Thank you to all the new members who joined during the stream. Appreciate you. Cupcake for life, says Kelly. Matt Crime Sleuth, thank you for this. I put it up earlier. I appreciate you. Stephanie Alessi, your background is in appeals. Are you keeping track of potential issues as you went through the trial? I am sure that he was. Can you ask if they tried the Vegemite to tighten Uranus? Nellie Finn, Bob and Dave podcast in our parlance or partners in parlance, and we would love to hear more than law. Your interests and lifestyle quirks piqued all of our collective interests. That's good, because I wanted to ask about some of that. Crystal Trickle, Dr. Russell was a gem, and Hank treated her badly, and her scowl was enough to show her disapproval of his disrespect. Brennan is, yeah, I agree. I agree, and you could see that Bob Alessi was very offended by it too. Our outrage was warranted and validated. Paisley Chicken, I'm 45 minutes behind. Want to let these gentlemen know that I absolutely am in awe of their legal skills. Totally enjoyed all cross and direct by this team. Thank you for standing up to protect basic constitutional rights. Yes, and for believing in your client. It's so much harder to defend an innocent client. It really is. Occiput boner. You think Hank could be able to go out of scope on X? It's Marmar. My vocabulary has increased since watching the trial. Yes, I honestly, I had to Google a couple of words that Bob Alessi spewed forth during the trial with such ease. And I was going to ask him, and I forgot, if he's got a photographic memory, because I really get that impression from him. I really feel like he has a photographic memory. Thank you, Kay Willis. Kay Willis is a realtor south of Boston. She's ready to help you sell if you want to get out. Thanks for gifting 5. Or maybe you want to stay now, because maybe our faith in the Massachusetts justice system has been restored just a little bit. Just a little bit. Michelle, I think Hank was the best lawyer government money could buy considering the task. Well, it makes me think that just perhaps, they couldn't find anybody else to do it because they have 50 attorneys in-house who are on salary who could have done it, but it's the hot potato case in Norfolk County. And $250 an hour is a really discounted rate. Listen, I didn't ask Bob Alessi his hourly rate, but I have a feeling it's north of 1,800 an hour. So, you know, sometimes you get what you pay for at $250. Oh, look at Runkle became a new member. Thanks, Runkle. I loved your interview and I watched it with great interest because I wanted to cover different stuff. So awesome job. Kelly says, Sergeant Barrows last night said during prep 1.0, Lally wanted to show him the SUV and picture. And he said, if it's a tail light that is completely smashed out, that's not what I saw. And then was not shown the picture. Brady, can anything be done? I didn't want to ask them this, but I know that Mark Betterow was tweeting about it all day. And I know that he did talk about it on Nurse Kim's show right before mine. So go watch what he has to say later on Nurse Kim's channel. Shout out to my girl, Nurse Kim. Chloe Albert's Revenge. Hank Brennan may be a good lawyer, but he's a good lawyer in the same way that Pablo Escobar was a good businessman. We could all do without it, right? Agreed. I don't know if I shouted out Aiden Carney during the stream because I meant to. When I was listing all the creators who kept this on the radar, I mean, nobody's written more about the Karen Read case than Aiden Carney, and he deserves Peabody. But I don't think it's pronounced Peabody. Peabody. A Peabody Award. And next person we got a free is Aiden Carney, because we'll be covering that too, just like we have been this whole entire time. And all of the, as such, things and stuff. hearings, motions. Mama She, King David spends skins to our hearts with get out of my head and into my dreams. Dr. Rentler's ham sandwich says, hey, Ian Runkle's watching, but he can't chat and he can't super chat due to the subscriber channel. Well, if he wasn't subscribed to my channel for at least one day, I don't know what to say. I've been subscribed to his channel for a long time. It's free, but he joined, so thanks. Amanda, hi, Mel, Mods, Bob, and David. Much respect to you all and lots of support from my team in Scotland. Thank you. A lot of, sorry, folks, can't chat. Got unsubbed somehow and said, oh, I'm sorry. I want to do that to keep the trolls out, but sometimes they just get in. The patience of some trolls is beyond. They will wait 24 hours. They will wait 24 hours to come in and insult me personally. They do it. Thank you, Jessica. We adore all three of you. Alessi, how do you survive on no sleep? Can you just tell us if there's hope for the FBI being involved? They weren't allowed to talk about any of that. We covered that in backstage. And so it is my educated opinion. Thank you so much, Jessica. That this is far from over. The FBI does not announce when they close investigations. They just don't. The fact that Hank Brennan said it in his statement the other day is wild to me also. Because, like, how does he know? The fact that Adam Lally was able to get a jury hung and Hank Brennan just outright lost is also interesting to me. Thank you, Aqua Love from Vegas, for the three of you. Oh, that reminds me. I was so sad that I did not get to go on the Las Vegas Cops show the other night for the Goodbye to Gonzo show, and I had every intention of it, and I was running late, and they were still going, and then when I got home, I had all these technical difficulties, and like right as I got everything resolved, they had already finished. So shout out to Gonzo. And wish him the best of luck. You just reminded me of that by mentioning Vegas. Ham sandwich for the win. Best show ever. Thank you. Thank you. Phenomenal interview. Thank you, Shaz. Thomas, love you for bringing on the powerhouse as well. I was third, but it's okay. Third time's a charm. 3 is the magic number and all that. And it's okay because we all cover all different topics, and I'm sure they're going to keep on. The tour is going to keep on. They're going to continue the tour. Everybody's going to get a little piece of them. And there's so much to talk about. I could have talked about it with them for, 5 episodes. Thank you, Thomas. We will never, ever, ever call her Dever, y'all. Thank you. Thanks, Samantha. Please ask Bob about Hartnett's reflection sticker. Oh, that was another thing that I forgot. I had so many notes here, and then the conversation just flowed, and so it just had to go where it went. But another thing I was going to talk about was the fact that it was also classy, in addition to many classy things that they did this trial, was not to ask Hartnett if she failed her proficiency exam, because she did. Thank you. My cat's name is Karen. Memes were made because of that space comment. Yeah, they were a lot of memes about that Lexus shooting off into space, right? The member information is in the show notes below. To join, there's a link in the show notes below. You might have to close out of the chat, but thank you for asking. Or asking for it to be posted. Whoever asked, it went by pretty quickly. Manisha, which expert from the prosecution, if any, would you all want to use in a future trial? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if they'd be allowed to. That's a good question, though. That's funny that Hank Brennan had hired Dr. La Posada a couple of times before. He had to cross-examine her. And you see how well that worked out for him. Angel, what about the lovely doctor with all the mass casualty experience? Yes, Dr. La Posada. She was lovely, very relatable, retired psych nurse. Congrats. Yes. And boy, when Hank Brennan tried to impeach her with her handling of the station nightclub fire, she was ready for it. She was ready for it, and she handled it like a champ. She's fabulous. We saw her testify in the Harry Turk trial, which took place in the same exact courtroom as Karen Read's trial a couple months ago. And she was on Zoom, so we didn't get the full effect of her amazingness. And I also believe that in large part, she was hired by the defense in that case. That is why Dr. Turk was convicted of the lowest charge. And also Kevin Reddington's a pretty good attorney. Catastrophic. I'm switching to the TV without chat. Thank you so much. I love listening to y'all and learning the tea. Thank you so much for your super chat. Marcy, so much love and respect to this panel. Thank you. I'm a Suze. I grew up in Pawtucket, and I'm a huge Sox fan. 75, 78, 86, 2003. 2004 was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Glamour Suze, for always being part of the chat and a very generous contributor too. Marcy, Thank you. I think I just covered that. We love Lisa and Carol, says Mick of Time. Say no to the ARCA hoax. Well done. Gringa says, can this please just be episode 1 of 5 with Mr. Yannetti? Oh, trust me, I would love that. I would love that. Blessed Mom from Texas, love to Bob Alessi and David Yannetti. We love you. It's okay that you were late. You can catch up later. Does Bob Alessi know about his word of the day? Oh, that would have been a good, I don't know. He might, because his daughter Laura watches everything. Laura's going to come on my show on Friday, so get ready for that. That's going to be cool. Friday afternoon, so my international viewers will be able to catch that show. Bob Alessi's daughter Laura and I have become friends, and she's going to come on my show on Friday. So think about questions for her, and we have a lot of other things to talk about, I think, other than the trial too. So it's going to be fun. Ain't a Plain Jane. I will ask her. She's up on all things Karen Read. She probably did tell him about it, but that's a great question for Laura. Angela wanted to know about Aunt Bev and her smartwatch conversation. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that. I don't know. She could have been doing anything, right? Leaving a calendar reminder. Anya says, Mr. Yannetti, I love the, I think you meant to say artwork behind you. The Angel Rock with Laura, I think this is Lorelai. Melanie, David, Bob, did you see the interview with Sergeant Barros yesterday where he admitted that the Commonwealth tried to get him to recant his testimony? I saw parts of it. I know it was on TikTok. It was going to be, I have to go back and watch the whole entire thing, but I've been so busy prepping for this show all day that I didn't get to watch it, but I did read Bettero tweeting about it. It was on Girl with Sunglasses, and she's got it up on her YouTube. That's interesting. Melanie, did Verdict watch with and Mark? You loved your emotion, so I couldn't. I was like a bucket of tears when that the emotion. We've been waiting for this for so long. Like even every time I go back and watch a video of the verdict, I'm still crying. I didn't think I had any more tears left, but I'm still crying. Oh, look, a couple of my faves just look at Amy in Arizona gifted 20, and a couple of my faves got gifted memberships. So congratulations to you, Buffs RN. I see you in here all the time. Sco Buffs. Paula, I don't know if this is Paula, the as such juror, but she's been doing some great interviews, and we love Paula. Thank you so much, KFaz. It was uncontrollable. To make an account, did defense table hear the hot mic a-hole? I'm not sure about that. Susie Q, I'm a dog groomer. Every single dog groomer I've shown John O'Keefe's arm to has said that's from a dog. That picture sold me as I saw it. Yep. That's why I got Garrett Wing on my channel and did an interview with him, because I was being gaslit too. I was being gaslit. I'm like, looks to me like dog bites. Who can I have tell me that these are dog bites? And Garrett Wing was a great interview, and I'm glad I did it. Prestige World Live, we were outraged. We were all outraged. We're still outraged. We're not done. I'm not done with the outrage yet until Karen gets true justice, because in my opinion, there were a lot of civil rights violations here. And it just so happens that is also one of Bob Alessi's specialties. Imagine that. Alessi is a machine. My cat's name is Karen says. Thank you. Ayaz Gulasku says, I felt like I was waiting for a rock concert. I followed both trials and a zillion reviews. At 44, I started my master's in forensic science, specializing in crime prevention. Greetings, love, and respect from Istanbul. That is amazing. You're never too old to dream a new dream. I think it was C.S. Lewis who said that, which is interesting because we called this being in the Narnia. We were in Narnia in this trial, Matrix. And so congratulations on that. And if you don't already watch Duty Ron and Ed Wallace, I suggest that you do, because Duty Ron is amazing too, but Ed Wallace is also one of the greatest forensics experts I've ever seen. He knows more about everything than anybody. Pokey, knock 3 times, Tony, Orlando, and Dawn for the verdict. Can't get enough of Alessi and Misty and Eddie. Oh, that's another thing I had on my list. I was going to say, did you know that the closed captions called you Misty and Eddie? So many people changed their names to that. Vincent McCormick, love White Room. Okay, White Room is going on the list. So that was White Room, and then Stuck in the Middle with You, I think is that the title of the song that David wanted? Clowns to the Right to Me, White Room. And also I got to put Bad Company on there for Bob also. See, wasn't that, I thought that would be a good exit plan on that, to get their additions to the playlist. So thank you, Vincent. They weren't there when Peter read my message, so I had to resend it. If no luck, I will send it wherever I see them. I'm a DJ also who had studied international relations and was a white collar before. That's amazing. I'm telling you, you're never too old to dream a new dream. Grace Base, I knew you were trouble for the playlist for the Cold Hard Ground. That was always playing in my head when Hank would say that. That's a Taylor Swift song. It might be on there already. Thank you, Grace Base. Kevin Mirth, why can't they talk about some things? Because some things are ongoing, some things are sealed. They are not allowed to talk about strategy because technically that's privileged because Karen was part of the defense team. And so any conversations that they had with Karen fall under attorney-client privilege. So there's a lot of guardrails up and respect them, right? On top, thanks for your super sticker. Karen was so blessed to have an amazing team, says Jenny 3 times. Thomas says classiness is never boring. It's never, right? I mean, they've restored my faith in the fact that there still are true gentlemen out there. Woohoo worldwide. Turtle boy. Thanks for your time. Mew says, we love you so much. Alessi, Yannetti, and the whole team. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. Can we have Hero by Mariah Carey on the playlist? I've got Hero by Foo Fighters on there. I think that one might be on there too. Thank you, Crash Daddy's Fiji Water. Solomon Landscaping says, thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, David. Thank you, Bob. True gems. An honor to be able to witness this. Oh, thank you. Tricity says, it's what makes us love you all more and had us trust that Karen was innocent. You are stand-up men that are absolute heroes, opening up all of our eyes to the importance of a zealous defense. David Reese says, this was by far the best interview of these two. David, you changed your name back to your real name. What happened? Oh, now it's Dave instead of David. Just because the Karen Read trial is over, you're not going to have a name that matches what's happening in the trial. Thank you very much. I appreciate the compliment. Maureen, thanks to you, super sticker. Thank you, Rose, says amazing interview. And Luann, thank you so much for your 20. Angie's Wave says, love you, Mel. Thanks for sharing with us. I couldn't wait to do this. I was so excited. I've been prepping all day for this. Ed Wallace is on a show with Duty Ron. It's called Duty Ron and Ed Wallace. They are 9/11 first responders. They have a YouTube channel, Kiki. And Ed Wallace is a forensics professor and expert witness. He's testified in something like 399 trials. I just want him to testify at one more trial so he can say 400. Duty Ron is a retired NYPD. They're both retired NYPD and amazing guys. And he also, the knowledge by Ed Wallace with respect to forensic, he teaches forensics. He trains police departments in forensics. They have great insight. They started covering Karen Read and also so many other trials. Before I ever started my own YouTube channel, Duty Ron let me come on his channel and co-host because Ed was on assignment at an undisclosed location for a while. And so I did like a lot of shows with Duty Ron, like 50 or 60 before. It's called Crime Time with Duty Ron and Ed Wallace. Yeah. If you just search it up, Duty Ron, you'll find it. I covered a lot of cases with Duty Ron when Ed was on assignment. We did the horrible case of Classic and Sincere West, the two boys out of Bakersfield, California, and the trial of their two monster adopted foster parents. That was tragic, and many other cases. So they cover a lot of true crime. KNS, Melanie, you're an amazing host. Thank you for such a fantastic interview. You did such a great job by asking great questions and letting them run with it. I'm so glad Karen Read brought me to this channel. Oh, thank you, KNS. We're so happy to have you. Treasures 1, Yannetti, best bromance of 2025. I have autism and think maybe Alessi does too. I sleep 2 to 3 hours a night too, but I'm not as smart. Thanks, Melanie. I think he's got a photographic memory and he's just a super genius. I have no idea. Thank you, Melanie, says KC. I say to my friends who are fellow FKR, wow, the Yannetti's mother did such an amazing job. I know I've been saying that from the beginning. When I met David Yannetti for the first time at the in the courthouse when Mark Betterow and I went to the first trial together. It was on June 14th. I'll never forget it. He came and he shook my hand and he said, oh, I just want to tell you that my mother and my sister are huge fans of yours. They watch your channel all the time. They love you so much. I'm like, oh, so sweet that he would say that to me. He's, David Yannetti, I haven't had the opportunity or the pleasure to meet Bob in person, but I will say that David Yannetti has the sort of charisma and the warmth. He exudes warmth. He's the kind of person, and there's not a lot of guys like that who make you feel like when they're talking to you that you're the only person in the room. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that he gives off, and he's so kind. And you could just radiates warmth. And I met his wife today backstage, Robin, and she's amazing too. And you could just see like what an amazing couple they are. Goals. Hashtag goals, everyone. Hashtag Robin and David. All right. Goals. Sherry says, such a humble hero. I know. And they're so humble too. You know, they do it they're not doing this victory tour for the glory and the money. They're doing it for you guys and for us. It's amazing. Teresa, this was a fantastic. Thank you so much. Aren't they great? They're so great. So great. Resisting arrest. What a very special evening. Love this. Thank you. Kelly, thank you so much for your super generous 50. Thank you so much for the interview. You did a great job. Thanks for all. Thank you for all your many hours of coverage during this trial. I couldn't have watched it without you. I went like earlier today, and I started adding up the hours of coverage, and I only got through pre-trial 1 and then trial 1, and I was already like into almost 300 hours. That doesn't even include like post-trial 1, pre-trial 2, trial 2, post-trial. We're into the multi-hundreds of hours, and it was a labor of love and passion and just wanting to see justice. Like, this was just so egregious to me. We were all being gaslit at the highest level. And after hearing, thank you so much, Kelly Proctor. After hearing what the foreman had to say, I'm blown away because they got it. They got it. John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. Karen Read is innocent. They got it. They understood the assignment. They listened to the evidence. And they deliberated, and as Morrissey said, the jury has spoken, and his statement was so much better than Brennan's. That's all I needed to say. We thought his statement sucked, but then we heard Brennan's, and Brennan was like, "Hey, hold my White Claw." What do you think Brennan drinks? Maybe not White Claw, vodka and Crystal Light. I don't know. Wait for me. Hall and Oates, says Noreen. Thank you. Thank you, Kat, for gifting a membership. Bella Brat says, dude, Yannetti made me cry again tonight. What an amazing hearts and minds the two of them have. Thank you, Melanie, for great questions and all you do. Oh, thank you guys for watching and being interested in this. And we're not done. We are not done yet. Sunshine became a new member. Sinbad, tomorrow will be the 20th year since my only son, age 21, was killed, and then it covered up by a corrupt police department. I can't even tonight. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Mel, King David, and Bobby. Vicarious justice. That's tragic. Janelle, connected by Stereo MCs. Thank you, Janelle. Sharon, thank you for your super sticker. David Bowie's Heroes, great show. It's on there, James Jameson. It's been on there for a long time. I love that song. I love that song. Casey, I met Karen. We hugged and I shared. I pray for her, and she replied, thank you for sharing what is really happening. So important. Yeah. Yep. I met Karen a couple times too. I have pictures of us together, which I've never published because why, but she's tough. She's a tough chick. She's really strong. Her faith got her through this. She's religious. She goes to church. Her family got her through this. I can't wait to hear her story when she's ready to tell it. And whatever conversations I had with her, I'm never going to share, or, but I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to see what she does next. I can't wait to hear where she chooses to tell her story. I wish nothing but the best for her. And I have a feeling she's going to get it because she won't settle for anything less. Matt Crime Sleuth says the Shady Bunch crew, girl with sunglasses, loved you, Mel. I love her too. Love my Lindsay. Weddy says this case is my Roman Empire. Thanks for everything. We're not done yet. Judy Moran and Ed Wallace too, says Cat Love Catskills. DeAndre, who will represent Karen in her civil trial? You, Bettero? Well, she's got attorneys that are hired by her car insurance company to represent her in the wrongful death case that was filed last August by the O'Keefe family. Peggy O'Keefe, John Sr., Paul, and the niece versus Karen Waterfall and CF McCarthy's. If you are interested, I will pin that show below. It is in the pretrial 2 playlist, I think, where I went over the civil suit, but I'll pin it in the show notes below. With regard to her civil rights claims, I don't know who will represent her. Bettero is a criminal defense attorney, so that is not his wheelhouse. We will see. We will see. Thanks, DeAndre. We'll see if she has a 1983 claim for a violation of her civil rights. Lola the good dog, could everyone please mark the 1-year anniversary of this verdict on your calendar, June 18th, 2026. We would love to have some type of anniversary reunion where we can all meet up. Step 1, save the date. Awesome. Awesome, Lola. Deleted comment queen. It's 3 a.m. here in the UK and it's too hot to sleep. So happy to catch you, Queen Melanie, and chat. Miss you already. Still in the rabbit hole. We're not done yet, you guys. Josh, federal investigations never close during the statute of limitations. They open and close as more evidence is discovered. Federal cases take years. Thanks, Josh. Music to my soul. It sounds like AJ is implying that he wants Brennan to face sanctions for violating the rules of professional conduct. What do you think, Melanie? I think that is just one of the things that he would like to see happen in this case. Just one of many. Can't speak for him, but yeah, it's kind of easy to read between the lines, and you're getting it. You're picking up what he's laying down, I think. Thank you, Roxanne. To you too. Wish someone who could put together a montage of all the best moments of the trial. There are creators out there who do that. There's a great channel, I can't think of it right now, who did a thing. Actually, I'm going to show it to you because this is incredible, and I want you to see it because I want you to go and follow this channel. And I was so happy that they did this because they put all of the law tubers who were covering the verdict on one screen for the verdict reading, and it was all of us reacting at the same time, even though we were not on the same stream together. So I'm pretty sure this creator will be cool with it because I commented on the video, and then the creator was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for commenting." So let's and then this particular creator has a lot of LawTube reaction video. Channel is called Next Witness, and I want to show you the video, the reaction video from the verdict. That was really cool. Is this the one? I think it is. Oh, wait. I don't know what. All right, hang on. For some reason, I got to fix my settings because this is playing through my speakers and it's not supposed to be. So give me 1 second. Do 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 do. All right, that should be better. Check this out. You're gonna like this. I think you guys like these compilation videos as much as I do. All right, the creator is Next Witness, so give this a like on YouTube and check this out.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having anything to do before Beverly Canoni, Justice of the Superior Court, holding in Dedham within and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is in session. Please be seated.
It's day 36 of the Karen Read trial.
Could be a verdict, people.
If
Could
it's a
be
verdict, that's
It's
Andrea's priority, I think.
209. It's 209 on the East Coast. Let's do that.
Wow.
227, baby.
You almost did 27.
227
Oh, God.
verdict, baby.
27
Let's go.
verdict.
Well, we knew it was going to be a chaotic day today, didn't we? We saw that one in the forecast.
It is wild. Like I've never seen that many people out there.
In Karen Read, the parties have been summoned back to court.
So we are on verdict watch. I would think if it is a verdict, they would say that and say what time they're going to read the verdict.
I don't know. Somebody's saying the parties are coming back to court.
And all the parties have been called back to the courtroom right now.
Here comes Karen.
20 hours. It's been 20 hours.
Love this.
Well, here they come.
So it might be another jury question. It may be that they're deadlocked.
I don't know what it means. What if anything it means? It's 2:03 p.m.
We don't know what the issue is. We're going to go to court.
Ooh, a little bit of anxiety.
Oh, Alan Jackson gave the
I love you. Yeah.
I think that's what it looked like. Yep.
I see the fan here.
Fan is still up.
Everybody's asking to keep the fan on, so we'll let it go.
Verdict clock is still ticking.
The verdict clock continues to tick.
I haven't really invested anything in this law and crime clock.
We're wasting time, killing time, but it's funny. So we're not really wasting anything.
There have been reports that there's not another jury question. There have been reports there's not a jury note.
Well, I have to say, and I've got OnlyFan watching too, guys. As soon as OnlyFan moves, I'll take us off the sea of pink.
But the only one that really knows what's going on right now is that bailiff. He knows if there's a verdict or not.
I feel pretty confident. I don't know.
He knows if it's a question or not.
I was going to say that it could be a verdict.
He knows what the questions are, but obviously he doesn't know the answers.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Maybe it's guilty on the top count across the board, and we'll all be really sad.
It's an unlikely state of affairs, but guys, you never know because you have no idea. No idea what the jury is doing. No idea what the foreperson is doing.
Anything is possible at this point. I would just be surprised if they didn't actually announce a verdict.
I am just hoping that at the end of the day, DePetro gets more jail time than Turd Read.
Everybody is trying to find every indication, how the jurors are dressed, et cetera, et cetera.
Everybody's thinking it's a verdict.
We'll see. If it's a verdict, we're going to watch it here together.
According to Sue O'Connell, a court officer walked by me with a medium-sized envelope with the back fastened closed.
How do you feel?
Really nervous.
Oh, Lord.
We're literally trying to tea leaf read what is in the envelope at this point. This is great.
And yes, very nervous. Here we go.
Well, she looks all business.
Yep. See, I'm glad I double checked.
Thank God.
All right. I appreciate.
I love this because they put all of us, even though we were not on the same stream together. Next Witness put us all on the same screen for this part, and this is so good.
You're all getting back here. During the luncheon break, I received word from a court officer that the jury had knocked on the door, indicating that they had a verdict. But before I could even summons everybody into court, shortly thereafter, they knocked again and said they didn't have a verdict. So I asked the court officer to tell them to put that verdict slip in an envelope and seal it. And to give it to us. Paul, do you have it?
Wait, so they do have a one verdict?
I don't know.
Paul, do you have
no.
What else could happen in this case?
This is going to have real implications going forward. So just wait. I've got a lot to say about this.
And to give it to us. Paul, do you have it?
What? This is insane. I've never heard of
I haven't.
this.
It's been sealed. I'm now going to seal it in the legal sense. So this is sealed. No one will have access to it. It will be preserved and made part of this record.
So you're
I'm
not
going to
accepting
ask
it.
to be marked. It's marked for ID with the word jury.
No, they need to ask. They need to find out, do they have a verdict on any counts? No. They've got, I feel like they have a fucking verdict.
Look at Jimmy's face.
On something.
What? Are we in a game show?
We're going to have two verdicts, apparently. Hope they get the right one when it comes time to publish the real verdict.
So we do not have a verdict because, as we all know, there is no verdict until it is announced and
We are all
recorded in
painfully
open
aware.
court. So we are still awaiting a verdict. So we'll see everybody later.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Now I feel like an adrenaline rush all of a sudden.
Wow.
Wait, what the fuck is happening?
Okay,
What the fuck just happened?
so just to recap what happened. Judge Cannoni says during the lunch hour, there's a knock at the door.
This case, which of course is already one of one and so out of the norm, has just had a situation where the jury said, here's a verdict over lunch.
The jury knocked, indicating they have a verdict.
They have a verdict, and they apparently provided a signed verdict slip.
And then, before we could get everybody together, another knock. Just kidding. We don't have a verdict.
And then, before anyone went and checked with them, they said, just kidding. JK, we don't have a verdict.
But then said they have no verdict.
And then they knocked on the door and said, never mind, just kidding. Somebody changed their mind.
And the first verdict that is not a verdict has been placed into a sealed envelope.
And she has decided that means they have no verdict because she has not accepted and recorded the verdict.
And
is
filed
sealed.
under seal.
Yeah.
What does that mean? This is obviously
Confusing situation.
What in the fuck, man?
I'm not even sure what to think of that right now.
But
so
she
you-
took a verdict slip from them and put it in an envelope.
Yeah. So my question is, the jury, when they're back there, they only have one copy of the verdict form. So if they spoiled the copy that's currently in the envelope,
They have a verdict, but only one slip.
at what point were they given a new copy, and by whom, under what circumstances, and so forth?
Let's hope there's not some fights going on in that jury room.
It sounds like a bully juror potentially, like somebody got bullied into voting a certain way and then changed their mind.
What does that mean? Verdict, no verdict, yes verdict. Somebody had to be strong-armed. Is that what that means? Did somebody have to be strong-armed? They had to be placated. They had to be re-persuaded. They had to be bribed. They had to be what?
Judge said, well, the jury said they did have a verdict, and then they said they didn't have a verdict, but I've got something here in this envelope that we're going to seal up and nobody's going to look at it, and we're just going to mark it and put it into the court record.
Do we ask them, have you reached a verdict on any of the counts? That's it.
Surely we would ask. We would ask for a partial verdict at this point.
And on the record, she should clear it up.
Yeah, I think it would be totally appropriate to maybe ask some clarifying questions, or, see.
Yes, I have some clarifying questions, like what and the fuck.
Right.
They reached a verdict to the point where they put it in writing.
You see this double standard? You see this double standard with how the law works.
And then after they handed the written verdict to the court official to give to the court,
they then knock again and say, just kidding.
Right.
Apparently.
What?
This is not a verdict because it was not in open court. Okay. According to the judge, they changed their mind. It was never read in open court. It's gone.
It's not final. It's not a verdict till we say it's a verdict.
This verdict was filled out, was dated, was signed, was sealed, and nobody gets to see it.
Even if you sign it off, hand it to them.
How did they get their hands on this envelope?
Well, then the judge asked them to take whatever verdict sheet they used to come to a verdict and then uncome to a verdict. Whatever they did when they came to a verdict, they took that one, even though they've changed their mind and it's not been accepted or any of that. It's in an envelope so that it's part of the record for later.
We're at third or fourth hand at that point, right? You have the jurors talking to the bailiff, talking to the judge. What if the juror said, we have a verdict, and then they're like, well, we actually have a question about the verdict, and the bailiff took that to mean, well, they don't have a verdict anymore, and they really just had a question. There's just so many things that can be lost in translation.
Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that could be going on, and this is a very suspicious activity that we had here, and that's why she really should have cleared it up.
Obviously, nobody should see what this non-verdict verdict is, and then they're going to come back with another verdict, which will be the so-called real verdict, which may or may not be different than the not real verdict. This is
messy. Messy.
What was said? What happened? How did we get here?
So, nope, pretend this never happened. Never mind the man behind the curtain.
Yes.
And come to find out, another M. Night Shyamalanian twist in this goddamn fucking, my blood pressure's not good.
That is an appropriate comparison because his movies are awful. So
yes.
Unless it was also a way just to avoid doing it at 227. Kidding.
I mean,
well, for the second time in this trial, the text message has been deleted at 227.
Let's see if I can find a fan somewhere.
Let's just put this one on. Hopefully that's okay with everybody.
I don't know if this is
It
the one
looks
I'm
like
thinking
here
of.
we go.
Like where
Here
they-
we go.
Oh no, it does get into the verdict
Court
part. Okay,
TV
good.
has the fan.
Still just the fan everywhere. Still just the fan everywhere.
It's like 9 minutes. It's like, oh, this is the 20-minute long version. So let me get to when they put us all on the same screen for the actual reading of the actual verdict. Hold on. And Next Witness is the name of the YouTube channel. You can go there at the bottom. It's scrolling along the bottom of your screen. And then I think we're going to watch all of us come on screen for the verdict, which is really cool.
Oh my God. See the papers?
The papers.
Mr. Foreman, have the verdict has been placed in this envelope and have they been in your presence ever since?
Some fancy split screen.
Mr. Foreman, on docket number 2282CR117001, murder in the second degree, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. So say you,
Not
Mr. Foreman?
No surprise.
So say you? No, no. Do you agree? Yes. Do all of you agree? Thank you.
Polling it.
002. What say is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty? Not guilty. Is not guilty or guilty about that charge or any lesser included charge? Specifically number 5, operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct? Yes. So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
They made the right call.
003. What say is the defendant at the bar?
Wait, what? Did they say guilty or not guilty for that? I don't.
Is guilty. Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Oh, you're outside.
Judge Hartman verdict is the court records, and you upon your oath say the defendant on 001 is not guilty, on 002 is guilty of operating in the influence of liquor, and 003 not guilty. Thank you.
Wow.
All right, jurors, everybody please be seated.
The most expensive OUI of all time.
I'm going to send you back to services completely.
Just verdict. I agree. We'll talk.
It's loud out there.
All rise.
It was a little awkward how they got through that.
Yannetti crying?
Look at David's crying too.
After all this, man.
Oh, look at the tears.
Oh, Yannetti, he has been with this case as long as Karen Read has. She called him the night of January 29th and reached out to him as her attorney.
Please exit the courtroom immediately. Karen Read. Not yet.
Tony,
Hold on,
not yet.
hold on, everyone. Karen Read. Ms. Read, can I have your attention?
All right, so we need a date for sentencing. Can we do it next week?
And we would be prepared to go forward today.
Okay, okay,
Brennan says he's ready today.
okay.
Sidebar.
Sidebar. Sidebar. What the hell you need that for?
My guess is the defense wants to go sidebar because they're wondering, like, are you guys seeking jail time? They want to know where everybody's head's at.
They might have a stipulated punishment. They might have talked it out.
Brennan's a decent guy. He will just give him the standard DUI and that's it.
All right, so Mr. Yannetti, you're ready to go forward today as well?
There you go.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Mr. Brennan, what's the Commonwealth's recommendation?
Rules of sentencing, we recommend probation 1 year, 24D program.
So the standard that everybody else gets on their first time OUI?
Certainly.
Good for Brennan. I'm going to give him props for that.
Okay.
She says that on the record. She says that on the record. So the first time everybody gets.
All right, thank you all.
Oh my God.
Solid props to Brennan. And you know what? Good for the judge.
Lesser included offense of operating under the influence, 1 year probation.
Good for the judge.
A lot of people wondered how Brennan was going to behave when this was over. And he behaved like a gentleman.
Yeah,
There was no reason to delay this. Get it out of here. Get her sentenced. End this. We're not asking for jail. We're treating her like a first offender. OUI. We're done here.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. We, the law nerds of the chat, declare that this matter of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Karen Read, verdicts rendering on this day, June 18th, 2025 of count 1, not guilty, count 2, guilty of the misdemeanor operating under the influence with 1 year probation sentence underway, and count 3, not guilty. This case is closed.
In the face of doubt, we rise.
So good, isn't it?
no compromise.
Best collaboration ever.
Every step forward, every battle fought brings us closer to the dream.
I don't know whose song this is, so I don't want to play it out because they may strike me on the music like they did on my show from like 2 days ago. I was totally got the yellow dollar sign for the arm photo again with the dog bites on it. Like, really? Like, why is this like not friendly to advertisers? So everyone go give Next Witness on YouTube a follow, a like, tell them I sent you because I love and they have many, many, many more compilation videos of all the LawTube reactions. I mean, look at this list. They got them all. They got a lot. Go check it out. Because if you like the collaborations as the compilations as much as I do, you're really going to like the channel. All righty. Me. Back to the questions. Donna Adelson. Danielle wants to know if I'm going to cover Donna Adelson. I don't think so, only because I've never covered any of the Donna Adelson stuff. And so there are other cases that I think I'm more interested in and that my viewers are more interested in. And when I put my finger on the pulse of what you guys wanted to watch, that was not really one of the ones that you wanted to watch. I want to do Koberger. There are a lot of trials coming up. Lindsay Clancy, Brian Walsh. And so I just don't think Adelson is one that I'm going to cover. There are a lot of YouTubers that have been covering that case for years and years and years that are far more knowledgeable about that case than I am. Thank you. Physics is 100% free. Karen Read. They came to the LawTubers, not mainstream media. That is the most genuine and generous thank you from them. How awesome is this? Chatting away with half of the dream team with a not guilty on the record. Amazing. That was amazing, right? Thank you for your 20. Amy in Arizona, gift of 20 memberships. You are so generous always. Amy in Arizona came into this trial number 2 for the first time. Didn't watch trial number 1. And so I've always been asking her. I've been taking her temperature on this case as it was going in. And she's been an invaluable resource. And look at her gifting 20 as a very generous contributor. Cat Artist, on one of their earlier interviews, they mentioned you among YouTube streamers that were so supportive. Thank you so much. Legal-minded friends. Hi, Karen. Thanks for your dedication to justice from England, UK. Thank you. I know Karen all the way back from the Duty Round days. Evidently Chicken Town for our hype playlist. Seriously, they restore my faith in humanity. I know. It's pretty amazing. Vincent McCormick, has Mr. Alessi used lacuna in an interview? My favorite law talking word and so fitting with all the lacunae in the case. Thank you, Vincent. Please support Next Witness. Thank you, Bat Mama. I just played the video. Is that where you got it from, or was that before? Thank you. And I can't pronounce. I can't see what that says. And Nozmia for 1 gifting a membership. Thank you so very much. Karaoke, new here. Wonderful interview. I love these guys. So glad I found you. Dave Matthews Band, Dead and Company fan. Also looking forward to watching you more. Look, all my posters behind me. Thank you. So glad you found me too. Emily Baker was at a couple of Dave Matthews shows this weekend. I was jelly. And she said a lot of people came up and recognized her, and she was chatting with a lot of people. That's awesome. Bob's heart is Biggie. Hypnotize me. Thank you, Melanie. Your heart and expertise grounding for so many tonight was beyond. Thank you. Thank you for watching and for being interested in this. Sharistity says Turtle Boy said him agreeing to sentencing was actually him being a coward for not wanting to come back to court for a DUI. Yep. After his statement, I'm inclined to agree it wasn't him being a gentleman, but a coward. Oh, yeah. He wanted to be done with this. He didn't want to even have to come back and like put in another bill. He did not want to live with this case another week. I think he was embarrassed and he wanted to get the hell out of there. And I think you're right. I think Turtle Boy's right. Mainstream media is YouTube. Michael Easter, retired FBI. Bev wouldn't let testify, was on a show last night. I saw somebody told me about that. The FBI called him out of the blue about testifying. Feds are still watching. Interesting. Smash Daddy's ham sandwich. Are you going to cover the Morphew case? Yes. Yes. Do you want to do that indictment maybe tomorrow? That would be a good thing to do. Guys, tell me what you want to do tomorrow. I mean, Karen Read is going to keep on. There's going to be news all the time. But yeah, I would. It's a Colorado case. And you know, Colorado is close to my heart. And also, it's been going on for more than 5 years. And also, weren't his daughters like standing behind him? Like, weren't they on his side? If you diss the Grateful Dead, your comment gets deleted. Sorry. There's no free speech in my chat. Sorry. It's just the way, that's just the way it goes. Sorry, not sorry. So yes, Smash Daddy Ham Sandwich. Tell me if you guys are interested in Morphew. Yes. Are you interested in Morphew? But we're going to go back to daytime shows. This was the time when the Alessis were available. So this is the time that we did it. So we're going to go back to daytime shows because that also, you know, is a favor to the international audience. We have such a big international audience. 7:30 is late for you guys. Covered that before. Thank you, Matt. Matt, are you gonna thank you for the Morphew comment? Thank you, Steven, who says that on Venmo. Thank you for not just supporting Karen Read and her defense stream team, but helping to expose this kind of injustice that could affect any one of us. You, Turtle Boy, Trey Ghost Lawyer, you know, Glare, Runkle, Burkhart, inspire all to stay involved. Thank you, Steven, for saying that. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan, for thanking me. Oh my goodness, CV, that's a very generous Venmo. Says just for support. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Tracy, thank you for the heart, the prayer hands, the cupcakes, and the high five emoji. Jonas, Karen Read, Yannetti, and Alessi guests best. Carly suggesting Jamie Lynn Siegler for our fake movie to play Karen. Thank you. Matcha on you. Thank you, Carly. I will allow it. Stephanie says that was very generous. This was from yesterday, I think. I was on a bit of a vacation in Spain and Scotland and Ireland. Thank you for all you do. Excited for tonight's live with two brilliant heroes, King David and the meticulous Scissorhands. Still, where are John O'Keefe's socks and all his blood and shoes? Love you with all of my heart. Love you with all of my heart too. And now, I asked about the socks. Do you remember what happened when I asked about the socks, guys? What happened when I asked our guests about the socks? They didn't want to talk about it. So I wonder what happened to the socks. Now that makes me curiouser and curiouser. Is it just me? Or are you curious too? I agree. They just smiled. There was a lot of smiling going on there, right? Crickets. A lot of crickets. A lot of crickets. Thank you, Mama She. Morphew indictment, please. Got it. I got it. Love your top. Where do you shop? This is like from like some hippie store because you know I'm a boho hippie. So this is like from some little trendy boutique, like not so trendy boutique, like a little boho place that I found. It's like vintage. I don't know, I got it a long time ago. But typically what you see me wearing, I wear a lot of Zara because I like to wear those like shiny, like satiny blouses. And I love Zara because it's like everything is very reasonably priced and they come very quickly in the mail. Courtney Clenny trial. When is that happening, Amina? Did they get the adjournment on Koberger, or is that going to happen early August? So yeah, usually I shop at Zara. I've also become addicted to a place called Carbon 38, you know, because I wear a lot of yoga clothes, and so Carbon 38 has some awesome stuff. But I hate shopping. So like when I find something I like, I buy it in every color. And you know, places that deliver to me quickly because I hate shopping and I hate trying on. So I also rent a lot of my clothes. I did rent the Runway for a while. I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't think the quality was that good. And so now I rent through Nuuly, Nuuly. If you want my like discount code, I'll put it in the show notes. But they have a lot more of my style, like boho. It's a lot of Free People, Anthropology, a lot of cute summer stuff and things like that. Thank you very much. Nikki says they came in late. Great interview. Did you talk about AJ's statement. Wow, right, great job. Well, I read it afterwards. I didn't want to speak to them about it because I thought, when they want to make their own statement, they will. And so I didn't want to have them on and ask them about other things that did not pertain specifically to them because I had such interesting questions for them about the actual trial. And so I did not, but we read it afterwards. Yeah, you can rent clothes and you mail them back. You get to, and like, even in fact, Newly has they have like thousands of items. Just to go on the website, check it out. NUULY. You know what? I'll put my code in the chat, my discount code. You get 6 pieces a month. You can pick anything you want. Let's say it's like $100 a month. And then you mail it back and they give you the bag. It's free postage. You send it back in the cool bag that they send you. You send it back. As soon as UPS scans it, you unlock your next thing and you get 6 more pieces. It's like, I can't even wear all 6 pieces in the month that I have it for. It's crazy. It's awesome. And listen, you know what the number one thing in landfills is? Clothing. So it's eco-friendly to rent clothing. And besides, you wear it once and then you send it back. NUULY. And also you pick them. Yeah, you pick them yourself. It's not like Stitch Fix where they pick it for you and mail it to you. Here, let me just, I'll put the link in here. It's amazing. If you like my style, that's my style. Rent the Runway is higher end stuff. It's also more expensive. So I've looked into a lot of this is the one that I like the most. I just got to I don't know. I got to sign in here. And I'll put the link in the chat and then you guys can check it out. Because I love it. They have some, and especially like if you have a wedding to go to, or if you have like if you're going on vacation, what's great about that is that you don't have to dry clean anything or clean it. You just put it in the bag. It's like a really cool bag that they send it to you, and it's almost like a suitcase, and then you just mail it back. Hold on, folks. I love it. And then you mail the stuff back. And then if you want to buy the stuff, you can buy it at like 70% off. So I think it's pretty cool. Let me see. Where's my referral? Here we go. Here we go. Put it in the chat for you guys. If you're interested, here you go. There you go. I'll pin it for you. Hopefully it works. If somebody could click on it and tell me if it works for you, let me know. It's great. I mean, especially if you're going on vacation, like to Mexico or somewhere, you can just rent all your stuff and then mail it back when you're done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have been in touch with Victoria George, and she has been asked not to give any statements, and I totally respect that. And so I just want to talk to her about being a mom of twins, because I have twins, and she's got like 4 kids under 4 or something right now, and I've been there. So I would love to just talk to her offline and offer her some support, because it's not easy. The days are long, but the years are short. Look at Nancy. Just those that are hero dream team lawyers love you like we do. Love Duty, Ron, and Ned too. Yeah, no, he was wearing socks. He was wearing the socks because we saw pictures in the hospital on the autopsy table. He's got the socks on, you guys. He's got the socks on. It works. Cool. Check it out. Oh, yes, she is on Twitter. If you choose to wait on the cesspool of Twitter, she's got a Twitter, Victoria George. So go check her out over there. I guess somebody told her that I wanted to talk to her, so she sent me a really nice email, as did Emily from Hank's Diaries. Go support our girl, Emily C. Also, Emily, I got your email. I don't know if you're watching, but you got $30 off. There you go. There you go. $30 off for your first thing. Check it out. See if you like it. I mean, but once you start going through the clothes, thousands and thousands of choices. It's almost too much. It's almost too overwhelming, the selection that they have. So you should check it out. Does the FBI have the socks? I don't know, but now I'm curious. I'm curiouser and curiouser. That's why sometimes I put Alice up in the corner, because I get so curious. Thank you, Kia, for your information on Morphew. Thank you so much. Oh, such a long, long, lonely time. That's a great tune also. Love that song. She called me a mensch. Thank you, Kia. I appreciate you. Each and every one of you, I appreciate for coming to spend your evening with me. Let's come back tomorrow and do something fun. I just don't know what time yet because it is finals day tomorrow. It is the last day of finals. And so I got to do some driving. And so I just don't know what time it'll be. But I'm thinking that it's going to be in the morning. Maybe like 10. I just gotta, my kids' schedule's gotta come first. And since it's the end of year, I gotta see. So I just don't know. Make sure you have your notifications set. Make sure the bell is set to all. Make sure you're still subscribed because Ian Runkle even came in here and said, I somehow got unsubscribed. Trial date for Courtney Clenny has not been set, but I'd appreciate it if you kept you on. I will do that. But I think we need to like keep our schedule going because I love our schedule so much. I love spending my days with you that we need to jump into another trial. Maybe one that is not as long. We did some trials that were like 5 days long that were really good, right? So let's see what we can find that's being televised. And oh, you want me to? I'll tell you what, Steph, I'll tell you why people are talking about the socks. Let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because this has been my theory. We know that John O'Keefe kept a shoeless house, right? How do we know? Well, in trial number 1, Lally, in his closing, actually said Karen Read is guilty because when they went back to One Meadows to look for John with Jen and Kerry, Karen didn't take her shoes off because she knew that she killed him and that he wasn't coming home. Yeah, he said that. And so I've been wondering about the socks that were on John O'Keefe's feet. We saw them in the autopsy photos in the hospital. And even in the autopsy report, we heard Irene Scorti Bello testify, I think it was in the trial too, that the socks were on his feet. That was the only piece of clothing that she got. I submit this to you, my friends. When John O'Keefe went into 34 Fairview, don't you think that if he kept a shoeless house, that he would have taken his shoes off inside 34 Fairview too, as a courtesy? And don't you think that if he went into 34 Fairview, there might have been dog hair all over his socks? That would have proven that he went inside the house too. Yet, where are the socks? The socks never made it into evidence. That's what I think. Maybe could have perhaps happened. Don't know for sure. But I do know that someone who keeps a shoeless house probably takes their shoes off in other people's houses too. And I do remember also Coco testifying in trial number 1 that she went in the front door because there's a little bench there where you can sit down and take your shoes off. Coco, the one who was cleaning all the time, don't you think she probably made people take her shoes off? Nobody ever asked if Brian Albert and Nicole Albert kept a shoeless house. That was another question I would have asked them. But alas, none of them were called in the second trial. Why? I don't know. But I thought it was a problem for Brennan, and so did David Yannetti, because he said that tonight. That, in my opinion, because the only people they had testify this time that John didn't come in the house was Jen McCabe, who immediately was caught in a lie that she lied to the FBI. So they're like, the jury's probably like, we can't believe anything she says. She lied to the FBI. If you'd lie to the FBI, wouldn't you lie on the stand? I mean, come on, which is worse? And the other one, Sarah Levinson, who also said she had never met the dog in all the years that she knew Bri Jr. Those are the only 2 people that got on the stand and said he didn't come in the house. Lally, although he tried a much more belabored case last time, had 11 people testify John never came in the house. So there's that. A lot of people don't want wet park, right? Especially with snowing out, slushy out. So I bet. I don't know. I just had a hunch. And, got to trust your instincts. Got to go with your gut because your gut's usually right. Nikki said, I came in late. Great interview. Did you talk about AJ's statement? Oh, we covered that. Thank you so much. JJ UK, thank you so much. So happy they came on your show. I think I covered all of these already. And Nancy, Yannetti exudes a kind, gentle heart, doesn't he? He always truly cared, and it's been a long 3.5 years. Bob is a darling. Yes, I agree. All right. Please comment below and let me know what you would like to cover next. What kind of what trial you'd like to cover next. We're still going to be covering Karen Read for a long time, including the wrongful death civil suit and all of the other cases that are to come and all of the interviews that are coming and statements that are coming. So there's still going to be a lot more to cover. But we will be back tomorrow. I just don't know what time yet. So thank you to the moderators for keeping it classy tonight. You guys are amazing. And who knows what happened in the chat, because I did not watch the chat like the entire time because I was so transfixed on having the most amazing guests. Let's do a cupcake invasion. Tell me where you want to go. I can send you over to Turtle Boy, who's talking about the jury foreman on the Karen Read case, or Defense Diaries. Where do you want to go? Those are the only two that are live right now that I can redirect you to. Where would you like to go, my friends? Like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep. All right, you're going to Turtle Boy. Cupcake Invasion. Tell him I said hello and I said really nice things about him. All right. So when I hit end, it's going to send you over to Turtle Boy. He deserves all the accolades, you guys. He really, really, really does. Tell him I said, hey. All right. I will see you tomorrow. But, do all the things that YouTube likes. Please, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Share it out. Tell your friends. Comment respectfully. I love you with all of my heart. I will see you tomorrow, my friends. Let's do a cupcake invasion on Turtle Boy in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, David Yannetti and Bobby Scissorhands Alessi, for gracing me with your presence tonight. It was an amazing, amazing show. Peace out, everyone.